Chapter 1727. Soon, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon set off. The two of them walked carefully in the forest. Lin Xian used his soul power to observe the surroundings to avoid the powerful monster kings. He knew that he could not be careless in this forest. There were probably many terrifying monsters hibernating here. For example, the six-armed ape that they met the other night was absolutely terrifying. Even a mighty figure might not be able to fight against it. If he encountered it, there was no way he could survive. The two of them walked for a day and entered the inner part of the forest. Along the way, the two of them were very careful and were not discovered by the powerful monster kings. However, at this moment, there was a sudden roar that shook heaven and earth. The sound was very shocking and carried a monstrous aura. Hearing this sound, Lin Xian's scalp went numb, and he prepared to take a detour. However, at this moment, a few more roars came from the front. Then, a violent energy aura surged. Sensing these auras, Lin Xian stopped in his tracks with a bewildered look on his face. Someone is fighting? Moreover, these auras did not belong to humans. Could it be monsters? Lin Xian was stunned. He did not expect to encounter such a thing. At the side, the Crimson Dragon was also a little excited. Kid, should we go and take a look? There are so many monsters fighting. I'm afraid there's a reason. Maybe it's for treasures. It was possible. They walked in the forest for a few days and did not find any treasures. Perhaps the monsters in front of them were really fighting for some kind of treasure. The two of them walked forward carefully. However, when they arrived at the scene, they were stunned. Because the battle in front of them had already ended. The surroundings were a mess. Monster aura filled the air and blood flowed like a river on the ground. The pungent smell of blood assaulted their nostrils. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon stepped on broken trees and cracked ground and walked forward carefully. They found a few huge corpses in front of them. Each of them was at the Monster King level and was extremely terrifying. At this moment, their bodies were cut open and blood and internal organs flowed all over the ground. Evidently, he had been killed. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian and Lin Xian were extremely shocked. Even such a powerful Yao King was killed. It seemed like there was another terrifying existence. The two of them didn't dare to stay any longer and wanted to leave. However, at this moment, a figure walked out from the cave ahead. It was a black bear with a single horn on its head. It looked extremely ferocious. On its body, its black fur flickered with a jet black light, flowing with a strange energy. Especially the horn on his forehead, it was like a black jade, sparkling and translucent. The energy contained within it was even more terrifying. Compared to the surrounding demonic beasts, he was not very big, only 3 meters tall. But at this moment, he was emitting an incomparably horrifying supreme aura. The Black Bear Demon King was walking out of the cave. But in the next moment, it stared at Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon, its eyes emitting a fierce light. Lin Xian had goosebumps all over his body when he was being stared at like that. He sensed danger. According to his original plan, he should have retreated by now. However, in the next moment, he frowned. Because he discovered that although the black bear was powerful, there was a terrifying crack on the left side of its back. Although the blood had coagulated, the crack was still very eye-catching. It was obvious that it was injured in the battle just now. And it seemed that the injury was not light. Otherwise, with this demonic beast's ferocious personality, it would have pounced on them immediately. It would not have issued a warning here. Perhaps there was a chance. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. The Crimson Dragon also waved its dragon claws excitedly. Kid, do you want to make a move? That Black Bear King is injured. Let's do it. Lin Xian nodded. He was not willing to give up this opportunity. That was because he felt a strange energy in the cave. It should be some kind of treasure. In the next moment, Lin Xian's expression was solemn as he took out the 10,000 beast sting. The Crimson Dragon's body glowed red as it prepared to attack. Roar! Seeing that Lin Xian and Lin Xian were about to attack, the black bear in front of them roared angrily. Its murderous aura instantly spread out. As a demonic beast king, and an extremely powerful one at that, it would not allow humans to provoke it. Therefore, in the next moment, it roared angrily and turned into a ray of black light, charging towards Lin Xian. However, halfway through, the black bear's body suddenly stiffened. That was because the wound on its back had split open again. Blood gushed out, and even the eerie white bones were exposed. Roar! The black bear roared in pain. This is a good chance. Lin Xian seized the opportunity and activated the 10,000 bee sting in his hand. Suddenly, the 10,000 bee sting released a ray of black light that flew forward. Boom! This ray of black light was like a black divine spear. It was extremely sharp. In an instant, it pierced through the black bear, leaving a fist-sized wound on its body. Roar! The black bear was injured again, and its entire body became extremely frenzied. Its murderous aura soared to the sky, and its demonic aura turned into smoke that quickly surged into the sky. However, at the same time, a crimson dragon tail, like a heavenly pillar, lashed out from the void. Boom! The black bear's body trembled and he was sent flying. That was because the crimson dragon tail had sent him flying. It was obvious that this was the crimson dragon's attack. Roar! Roar! After receiving two extremely powerful attacks in an instant, the black bear's already injured body became even more fragile. At that moment, its body was covered in blood, and it had become extremely frenzied. However, its ferocious nature had been stimulated. Instead of running away, it quickly pounced towards Lin Xian. Boom! In an instant, it was in front of Lin Xian, and its terrifying black bear paw quickly slapped down. In an instant, a pitch-black hole was formed in the void. This attack was too violent. Even though the black bear was injured, it was still extremely terrifying. Buzz! Lin Xian did not want to take it head-on. He used the Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps and turned into an afterimage, dodging the attack in an instant. At the same time, his paw kept slapping the 10,000 bee sting. Buzz! 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 The 10,000 bee sting vibrated rapidly, and pitch-black figures kept moving around on it. Then, a black heavenly rock rushed out and flew towards the black bear. The feathers that filled the sky turned into black sword aura. The black sword aura was extremely sharp, and it quickly slashed downwards. The black bear waved its paw and unleashed a wave of energy that could topple mountains and overturn seas. It directly shattered the black sword aura that filled the sky. However, in the process, it suffered 2 more dragon claws on its back. Suddenly, its huge body shook continuously, as if it would collapse at any time. Roar! The black bear's eyes turned blood-red. Then, it opened its bloody mouth and roared behind it. A sound wave rippled out, carrying a strange energy that surged towards the crimson divine dragon. The sound wave was too terrifying. It was even sharper than the heavenly blade. Moreover, the sound wave could be stacked. Therefore, when it came close to the crimson dragon, the sound wave was still extremely powerful. Chapter 1728. Roar! The crimson dragon's body glowed as its dragon blood surged. In the next moment, it roared as well. An earth-shattering dragon roar rang out, carrying with it an unparalleled pressure as it fought against the Black Bear King's sound waves. Although the crimson dragon's cultivation was not as strong as the Black Bear King's, the power of its bloodline far surpassed the Black Bear King's. Therefore, when the two sound waves collided, they were actually evenly matched. The sky surged as countless black cracks appeared. The two terrifying sound waves disappeared at the same time. However, at this moment, Lin Xian leaped high into the air. The 10,000 bee sting in his hand emitted an even brighter light. A strange energy wave was emitted from the 10,000 bee sting. It quickly surged forward and enveloped the Black Bear King. The mysterious light was incomparably dark, as if it was going to suppress the Black Bear King. Roar! At this critical moment, the Black Bear King's hair stood on end. It let out an earth-shattering roar. Then, the horn on its forehead suddenly emitted light. The horn was originally jade-black in color. At this moment, mysterious patterns appeared on it. A terrifying aura instantly surged out. Whoosh! For a moment, the surrounding wind howled and dark clouds covered the sky. The scene was extremely terrifying. Then, a ray of light surged out from the horn. It directly pierced through the void and turned into an eternal ray of light. This ray of light was really too terrifying. It directly tore apart the attack of the 10,000 bee sting, and quickly blasted towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian's expression was solemn as his body swayed. He held the 10,000 bee sting in one hand and clenched his other hand into a fist. He directly punched out. A black dragon roared, carrying with it a black light that shook the heavens and earth. While, on the other side, the 10,000 bee sting was spinning even faster. Then, it suddenly grew in size like a black mountain, pressing down on the ground. Clang! In the next moment, it collided with the black light emitted by the horn, producing an earth-shattering sound. The void trembled, and a terrifying light burst forth. However, the 10,000 bee sting was an Earth-rank mid-grade artifact. It was too terrifying. It directly shattered all the attacks. The void instantly returned to calm. The 10,000 bee sting was still pressing down on the Black Bear King quickly. The Black Bear King's expression finally changed as he let out a terrified cry. However, he found that he could barely move his body. There was a mysterious power in the void that had completely shackled him. At this moment, his eyes finally revealed a look of fear. One had to know that it was no ordinary demon king. Its strength was extremely terrifying. So many demon kings joined forces and they were unable to kill it. But now, this little human in front of him was a threat. Boom! The Black Bear King was Black Bear King was completely. The ground sank, and the air billowed. The surrounding forest collapsed in an instant. In fact, even the mountain peak in the distance was blasted apart by this burst of energy. Ding Linz's demon king he waved his hand and put away the 10,000 bee sting. The Black Bear King was indeed a very powerful demon king. Fortunately, it was heavily injured before. Otherwise, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon would not have been able to kill it so easily. Lin Xian summoned the Black Earth and put away the corpses of these demon kings. When these demonic beasts reached the demonic king level, it could be said that their entire bodies were treasures. Their flesh and blood contained powerful energy. Their scales and fur could be made into weapons and armor. There were also demon cores in their bodies, which were their energy essence and contained powerful energy. These were all very precious. After collecting all the demon king's corpses, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon looked ahead. There was a cave there. Lin Xian had already checked the Black Bear King's body and did not find any treasures. It seemed that the Black Bear King had not obtained anything from the cave yet. Therefore, he guessed that the treasure must be in the cave. Thinking of this, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon did not hesitate and walked forward. The cave was dark, but Lin Xian's light was enough to illuminate the entire cave. In front of him, there were countless gravel. Among the gravel, there was a ray of light. It was very bright and could be seen at a glance. Lin Xian waved his sleeve and blew away all the gravel. Then, the ray of light appeared in front of him. Seeing that thing, Lin Xian was stunned. The Crimson Dragon screamed. "Dragon Crystal! Boy, this is a Dragon Crystal! Ha ha! We're rich!" The dark red divine dragon was like an old monster, roaring crazily. Lin Xian was also shocked. He did not expect to find a dragon crystal here. A dragon crystal was a type of crystal energy. Its value was equivalent to a divinity crystal, or even higher. One had to know that there were spirit veins in the world that would form ordinary sub-divinity crystals and supreme-grade sub-divinity crystals. They would even form divinity crystals. In addition to spirit veins, there were also dragon veins. That was something even more terrifying than spirit veins. Dragon veins naturally formed dragon crystals, which were even rarer than divinity crystals. Some of those powerful seeker spirit masters could cut out divinity crystals, but very few could cut out dragon crystals, because they were too precious and too rare. Lin Xian did not expect to find a dragon crystal here. It was indeed shocking. That dragon crystal was as big as a fist and shone with incomparably bright light. Every strand of it contained a powerful energy. Those lights were like divine clouds, illuminating the entire void. Good stuff! Lin Xian's heart was also beating wildly. With a wave of his hand, he held the dragon crystal in his hand. Presumably, the demon kings outside were fighting over this dragon crystal. We can't stay here for long. Let's hurry up and leave, Lin Xian said quickly. The Crimson Dragon nodded. He knew that the tremors here had already alarmed the other monster kings in the forest. It would not be long before those powerful monster kings arrived. 1 or 2 of them would be fine, but if there were a few more, they would not be able to leave at all. Therefore, the 2 of them did not hesitate, and quickly moved and left this place. Sure enough, not long after they left, a few huge figures appeared nearby again. Each of them was incomparably terrifying. Their killing intent was monstrous, stirring up the wind and clouds. In the end, even the 6-armed ape from that day appeared. With the stomp of its golden feet, the entire ground trembled. Countless birds quickly soared into the sky. The surrounding wild beasts trembled and all fell to the ground. Even though Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon had left for a long time, they could still vaguely hear the angry roars. Exciting, it was too exciting. If they were any later, they would not be able to leave at all. They might not even be able to obtain this incomparably precious dragon crystal. This thing must not be known to others. Otherwise, it would attract endless disaster. Therefore, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon planned to absorb it first. After finding a relatively remote mountain range, Lin Xian used his sword qi to open a cave abode. Then, the Crimson Dragon set up several formations and directly covered the entire cave abode. In the next moment, Lin Xian took out the fist-sized dragon crystal. Chapter 1729. After finding a relatively remote mountain range, Lin Xian used his sword qi to open up a cave abode. Then, the Crimson Dragon set up several formations and covered the entire cave abode. In the next moment, Lin Xian took out the fist-sized dragon crystal. He placed the dragon crystal on the ground. Then, the Crimson Dragon began to set up a spirit-gathering formation. Through the formation, the dragon crystal's power was transferred to the 2 of them. In this way, it could speed up their absorption. Soon, the dragon crystal emitted a bright light, forming rays of light that surrounded Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon. If someone saw this scene, they would go crazy. This was a rare treasure. Everyone would go crazy. Even Almighties would be no exception. But now, this thing belonged to Lin Xian. Feeling the rich power around him, Lin Xian did not hesitate. He quickly used the longevity chant to absorb the energy inside. The rays of light and the sky seemed to be attracted and rushed into Lin Xian's body. For a time, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon both entered a state of cultivation. In the blink of an eye, a night had passed. The fist-sized dragon crystal had shrunk by half. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon's bodies were completely enveloped by the bright rays of light. They were like 2 jade cocoons, emitting a hazy light. Another 3 days passed. The entire cave abode was surrounded by rays of light, and the dragon crystal was still the size of a walnut. At the side, the Crimson Dragon opened his eyes, and the aura on his body suddenly erupted. He had successfully recovered to a 4-star king. Therefore, he did not absorb any more energy. Instead, his body swayed and he retreated. On the other side, Lin Xian was still cultivating. The light on his body became more and more vigorous, and his aura became more and more powerful. However, he was still a 3-star king and did not break through. After another 2 days, the dragon crystal became the size of a fingernail, and its light became extremely dim. Most of the energy inside had been absorbed by Lin Xian. Lin Xian also opened his eyes. His eyes were incomparably sharp, and his aura was much stronger than before. Moreover, his combat power had also increased tremendously. However, his cultivation remained at the 3-star king realm. Lin Xian sighed as he looked at the dull dragon crystal. He knew that he needed a lot of energy to break through. But he didn't expect that he would need so much. An incomparably precious dragon crystal was actually unable to help him break through. One had to admit that the great dragon sword soul was truly terrifying. If it were any other king, they would have broken through long ago. But Lin Xian actually forcibly did not break through. However, his combat power had greatly increased. Now, even if he were to encounter a genius cultivator like Guochuanfei from the Holy Land, he would be able to kill him even without launching a sneak attack. Moreover, ordinary Holy Land cultivators were no match for him. Perhaps only those top genius Holy Land cultivators were worthy of fighting him. At the side, the Crimson Dragon also said, "Kid, don't be discouraged. The great dragon sword soul is extremely terrifying. If you break through to become a 4-star king, your battle prowess will be heaven-defying and terrifying. The problem is that the energy required is too much." Lin Xian also knew this, so he decided to set off again. This was because he believed that there must be other dragon crystals in this forest. As long as he could find another one, he would definitely be able to break through. Next, Xian and the Crimson Dragon continued to search this primeval forest. But one had to admit that this forest was really too big. It was boundless, like a green ocean. Moreover, the monster kings here were too terrifying. They had encountered a few in the past few days, and their strength was not inferior to the 6-armed divine ape at all. It could be said that they were terrifying. Even now, Lin Xian and the others had to take a detour. This was because in front of them was an extremely terrifying lair of a monster king. Just the demonic aura at the edge of the lair alone made Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon's scalps tingle. Even if an almighty came, they probably would not dare to enter this place easily. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon did not want to cause trouble, so they took a detour. In the end, after half a day, Lin Xian found a waterfall in front of them. Near the waterfall, there was actually a bamboo house. The bamboo house was very exquisite, and even the bamboo on it was emitting a faint glow. Obviously, the bamboo house was not built with ordinary bamboo. There was a grassland near the bamboo house, where countless flowers grew. It was surrounded by a bamboo forest. It was a peaceful scene. Seeing that bamboo house, Lin Xian slowed down, and his expression was extremely solemn. Because a bamboo house meant that there were humans. However, he did not know if they were primitive residents or foreign martial artists from the sections. Sure enough, not long after, a figure walked out of the bamboo house. It was a young man. He was tall and handsome. However, there was a coldness between his eyebrows, which made people tremble all over. The young man was wearing a 5-colored robe that flickered with a luster. Someone from the 5 Elements sect? Seeing this scene, Lin Xian frowned. He did not expect to meet someone from the 5 Elements sect here. However, the next moment, he was even more shocked. Because another figure walked out of the bamboo house. This figure was very familiar. It was the half-demon woman from the Demon Imperial Palace, Zhao Tianxia, who had fought with him before. However, he did not expect that Zhao Tianxia would walk together with someone from the 5 Elements sect. Zhao Tianxia and the handsome man exchanged a few words, and then entered the bamboo house again. The young man was still standing in front, as if waiting for something. Lin Xian was curious, and did not know what they were doing. Therefore, he and the Crimson Dragon hid their auras and quietly squatted to the side. He wanted to see what Zhao Tianxia wanted to do. Not long after, the sound of something breaking through the air came from the front, and then 2 figures quickly rushed over from afar. Soon, they arrived near the bamboo house. They were also 2 young disciples. The 2 of them appeared and quickly bowed to the handsome young man. The handsome young man asked in a deep voice, "How is it? Did you find out? The Sea of Death is very terrifying. I'm afraid that less than 1/10 of the people can come to this continent. Anyway, those who could come to this continent were not weak," the 2 disciples quickly said. After hearing this, the handsome young man nodded slightly. "Those ordinary rogue cultivators probably can't reach it. However, those peerless giants, peerless sacred grounds, and the clan of the ancients are not to be trifled with. They won't die in the Sea of Death. They will definitely reach it. However, they haven't appeared yet. I wonder what they are doing." The handsome young man frowned slightly. Then, he turned to look at the bamboo house behind him, and a glint appeared in his eyes. "That peerless face is really rare in this world. If I can take her in, it will be a happy thing," the handsome young man whispered. After hearing this, the two young disciples behind him laughed. "Senior brother, with your means, it will be easy if you want her." Chapter 1730. The two young disciples behind him laughed and said, "Senior brother, with your methods, it's easy if you want it." The handsome young man smiled when he heard this. "You should know that I like to do things willingly. I heard that Miss Zhao has a strong enemy on the island. If we can kill him, Miss Zhao might throw herself into his arms." The other two disciples laughed when they heard this. "Don't worry, senior brother. He's just a small warrior. How can he fight against our Five Elements sect? As long as we find that kid, we'll tear him to pieces." Their conversation was completely captured by Lin Xian. His face darkened when he heard this. From the looks of it, these people were from the Five Elements sect, and in order to curry favor with Zhao Tianxia, they wanted to take his life. "Humph! They're really obsessed." Lin Xian snorted and quietly retreated. With Zhao Tianxia's personality, even if these people from the Five Elements sect succeeded, she would not throw herself into his arms. Instead, she would suck their blood essence dry. More importantly, Lin Xian wasn't going to sit around and wait for his death. He had absorbed the power of the dragon crystal and his strength had increased greatly. Even if these people from the Five Elements sect outnumbered him, he would not be fearless. Since these people dared to target him, they would have to pay the price. Lin Xian would not hesitate to make a move, but he would not be rash either. The Five Elements sect was an unparalleled sect. The handsome young man in front of him must be a genius in the Five Elements sect. Moreover, there were many disciples of the Five Elements sect around him. Therefore, Lin Xian had to figure out the number of warriors on the other side. Other than Zhao Tianxia, the handsome young man, and the two disciples in front of him, there were 4 more disciples of the Five Elements sect hiding in the surroundings. Presumably, these people were guarding in secret. Fortunately, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were not careless. Otherwise, they would have been discovered by the 4 hidden warriors. Therefore, Lin Xian decided to take action and get rid of the 4 people in the dark first. Lin Xian, the Crimson Dragon, the Snow White Monkey, and the 2 sword shadows moved quickly. The assassination this time had to be a one-hit kill. They could not give the other party a chance to call for help. Lin Xian was the first to act. He executed the Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps silently like a ghost. The 9 underworld demonic sword in his hand released a cold light. In an instant, he arrived near a hidden martial artist. He waved his long sword, and the sword light flashed. With the sword piercing his vitals, the hidden martial artist's eyes widened. He wanted to make a sound, but he found that he couldn't. Plop! That martial artist fell to the ground. Then, Lin Xian flicked his finger, and a black flame surged out, instantly incinerating that martial artist. Not a single drop of blood was left in the sky. At the same time, the other 3 parties also made their moves. The Crimson Dragon had just broken through to become a 4-star king. He was very powerful, so he killed the other party easily. On the other hand, the Snow White Little Monkey cooperated with the 2 sword deity phantoms, and also silently killed the other 2 hidden warriors. In an instant, the hidden martial artists around the bamboo house were all killed by Lin Xian. Next, it was the 5-star sex martial artists in front. In the next moment, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon looked at each other, and then they quickly made their moves. A shocking sword chi, a terrifying dragon claw, and 2 sword god shadows quickly killed their way forward. This change was very sudden. In fact, the 5 Elements sex martial artists in front did not even react. In an instant, these terrifying attacks arrived in front of them. One of the disciples did not react at all. Under the attack of this energy, he directly exploded. However, the handsome young man quickly retreated with the other person. "Not good, senior brother, there's an assassination." The disciple's face turned ugly. The handsome young man's face was also cold. Men, kill him! In the end, it was quiet all around, and there was no response at all. Stop shouting, they've already gone to hell. You'll join them soon. Hearing this, the handsome young man and the other disciples' faces turned ugly. Not good, our people have been killed. Damn it, who are you? How dare you attack my Five Elements sect? If I don't attack you, should I wait for you to attack me? Lin Xian sneered, and appeared in front of them with the Crimson Dragon. It's you! You're that damn thief! The handsome young man's face turned gloomy when he saw Lin Xian. He naturally knew that this was the powerful enemy that Zhao Tianxia had mentioned, and also the target that he was going to kill next. However, he did not expect that the other party would attack before him. Good boy, I didn't go looking for you, but I didn't expect you to take the initiative to come here. How dare you kill my Five Elements sex people, you really deserve to die. Kneel down and accept your death obediently, and I can give you a quick death. Otherwise, I'll let you know what it means to live a life worse than death. The handsome young man sneered, and his face regained his confidence. This was because he had already seen 3 figures in the distance, and they were rushing towards them quickly. They were the disciples of the Five Elements sect. The other person also laughed. Ha ha, there's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it, so you barge in. Since you dare to kill my Five Elements sex people, today will be the day you die. Kill. Seeing that there were more people coming, Lin Xian frowned, but in the next moment, he decisively attacked. His entire body turned into a terrifying sword light, and he quickly rushed forward. At the same time, the dragon sword field was released, and it quickly expanded, forming a terrifying sword principle world. With a stab of the sword, the world lost its color. What? So powerful! The Five Elements sect's disciple turned pale with fright, and even the handsome young man's face turned solemn. He did not expect that the other party would have such a terrifying sword chi. However, as a genius of the Five Elements sect, he was not a useless person, so he immediately shouted and attacked with all his strength. A dazzling brilliance burst out from his hands. Boundless divine power surged out, forming 2 yellow mountains that pressed down viciously. Boom! The void trembled as the 2 yellow mountains collided with the dazzling sword light, and a huge explosion occurred. However, Lin Xian's sword chi was too powerful, and it finally tore the 2 yellow mountains apart. However, this also gave the handsome young man a chance. His body swayed, and he once again retreated to a safe distance. At the same time, a figure flashed out from the bamboo house, and Zhao Tianxia also came out. When she saw Lin Xian, she immediately gnashed her teeth. Damn thief, how dare you chase after me? Miss Zhao, don't worry. Let's work together and kill him. Moreover, we have the advantage in numbers. This kid won't be able to escape today. Okay. Zhao Tianxia revealed a cruel smile. Chapter 1731. What? You want to bully me with numbers? Come, come, come. Ban Wang will teach you a lesson. Little girl, come here. Let this king teach you how to behave. The Crimson Dragon pointed at Zhao Tianxia with his claws and sneered. Damn snake, you're courting death. As a genius disciple of the Demon Emperor Palace, she had never been provoked like this. Therefore, she moved her palm, which turned into a silver ray of light and slapped at the Crimson Dragon. The Crimson Dragon laughed without fear. His body flickered, and he dodged like a red bolt of lightning. At the same time, he waved his dragon claws, forming a strong gust of wind that swept across the sky. At the same time, he said loudly, Kid, leave this little girl to me. As he spoke, he raised his hands and formed 2 arrays, which enveloped the 3 martial artists flying over from afar. Seeing that the Crimson Dragon had temporarily restrained Zhao Tianxia and trapped the 3 people who came to help, Lin Xian smiled. It seems that your numbers won't work. Lin Xian looked at the handsome man in front of him and said coldly. The handsome man, Li Wei, had a gloomy expression. He did not expect that the 4-legged snake beside him would have such strength. He was able to restrain Zhao Tianxie. Not only that, but the people he came to help were also trapped by the array. It seemed that they would not be able to break it in a short time. However, he still sneered. "Kid, do you think you can beat me in a one-on-one fight? You're too naive. I'll let you know the power of the Pentaphase sect." Then, he turned to the martial artist beside him and said, "Go and help them break the array." "Yes, senior brother." The disciple quickly moved to help the three people behind him. Only Lin Xian and Li Wei of the Pentaphase sect were left in the field. With a cold snort, Li Wei's body emitted a strong light that swept in all directions like a stormy sea. The powerful aura caused the entire void to tremble. In the next moment, he punched out. Li Wei's movements were not very fast, but that power was abnormally terrifying. It was like a sea, flying in the air. The wind was strong and mighty, and the blue light was like a wave, surging forward violently. That berserk aura was as unstoppable as before. Lin Xian also felt the pressure. He realized that this fist was like the sea, boundless and incomparably vast. Even though it was only a single punch, it had sealed off all paths of retreat. As for him, he could only face it head-on. However, Lin Xian would not be afraid even if he were to face them head-on. He shouted coldly and punched out as well. The Armageddon Black Dragon fist surged forward with a violent aura. The Black Dragon roared, and strong winds blew, as if it wanted to tear everything apart. Boom! In the next moment, the two terrifying fists collided, and a terrifying storm swept out in all directions. The two of them were locked in a stalemate in the air, flashing non-stop. On the other side, Li Wei's expression was solemn. He did not expect that his opponent would be able to block his punch. Therefore, his face became a little gloomy, and he increased his strength again, punching out quickly. Explode! The void exploded in an instant, and the blue waves turned into a substantial sea, covering the sky and covering the earth. It was like a real sea, and it was incomparably terrifying. The blue light that filled the sky instantly shrouded the black fist shadows. The void trembled rapidly, and the ground cracked. Terrifying cracks appeared and spread into the distance. Those black fist shadows were completely engulfed in an instant. Seeing this scene, Li Wei laughed wildly. "Kid, no matter how powerful you are, you can't resist my 5-element fist." 5-element fist! Hearing this, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He had to admit that his opponent's fist technique was indeed terrifying. It should be one of the 5-element sect's unique techniques. Lin Xian's guess was right. It was indeed a unique technique. The 5-element fist contained the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. The blue fist earlier was the water element fist of the 5-element fist. It was extremely terrifying and could devour everything. It could be said that Li Wei definitely had the right to be arrogant. "Kid, provoking me is the biggest mistake you've made in your life. Today, I'll let you know what regret is." Li Wei sneered and waved his fist again. The blue light was extremely vast, covering the entire sky. It was like countless thousands of feet of sea waves rushing down. "Watch me break your 5-element fist!" Lin Xian also let out a long roar, and his eyes shone brightly. The aura on his body became incomparably violent again, as if he was the king of destruction. "Thunderbolt Dragon!" He waved his fists, and 2 black dragons with countless lightning bolts rushed into the sky. Boom, boom, boom! This scene was too terrifying. It was as if 2 giant dragons were rampaging in the boundless sea. Their huge bodies rushed forward, tearing everything apart. The black lightning even penetrated the sea that filled the sky. This scene was like a raging dragon coming out of the sea. In the end, the sea that filled the sky and the huge dragon shadows disappeared together in the sky. The fierce wind between heaven and earth also quickly dissipated. Lin Xian and Li Wei's figures appeared in front of him again. Lin Xian's black hair fluttered, and his eyes shone brightly. The blood in his body surged, and the dragon sword's soul quickly awakened. To be honest, he had not met such an opponent for a long time. The person in front of him seemed to be even more terrifying than Guo Chuanfei. Such an opponent was worthy of his full strength. On the other side, Li Wei's face was gloomy. He did not expect that the opponent could resist his water element fist. It was really shocking. It was hard to believe that the opponent, a rogue cultivator, could reach such a level. However, he had already decided that he must kill the opponent today, or else it would be a disaster in the future. He, Li Wei, would not leave such a threat alive. With a cold snort, Li Wei's aura rose again, and at the same time, the water blue turned into a fiery red. A terrifying flame aura rushed out, covering the entire space. He threw out a punch, and flames surged in the sky, turning into countless flames that swept forward. Fire Element Fist! After the Water Element Fist, Li Wei performed the Fire Element Fist. This Fire Element Fist was even more terrifying. The heat wave that filled the sky seemed to swallow the sky, burning everything. In an instant, Lin Xian's black fists were all burning. Humph! Lin Xian snorted, and the sword chi on his body soared into the sky, turning into a sharp sword light that slashed forward. The terrifying sword light swept in all directions, suppressing the flames. What? It can actually suppress my fire element fist! When Li Wei saw this scene, he was extremely shocked. His fire element fist was incomparably terrifying. Ordinary six-star kings could not resist it. However, the opponent's sword light was so strange that it could actually suppress his fire element fist. In fact, even the flames that filled the sky started to dim. Damn it! Li Wei shouted coldly, and his fists changed again. The flames in the sky disappeared, and majestic mountains appeared. They collapsed in all directions, carrying a violent force as they fell mercilessly. Earth Element Fist! When this fist technique was performed, Li Wei's fists became incomparably heavy. They were like ancient demonic mountains that kept falling. Chapter 1732. Earth Element Fist! Li Wei's fists became extremely heavy as soon as he used this fist technique. It was as if many ancient demonic mountains were descending continuously. Those majestic mountains were indeed extremely terrifying. The sword light in the sky was bent from the pressure. This scene was too terrifying. The entire space sank as it could not withstand this power. Lin Xian's expression was also solemn. He used the Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps. His figure was like a ghost as he constantly changed his position. He quickly dodged those terrifying mountains. Between heaven and earth, the void trembled. The earthy yellow light was extremely heavy as if the 9 heavens' divine mountains had descended to the mortal world. That weight gave Lin Xian a great sense of danger. It was as if it wanted to completely suppress him. Dragon Shadow Rampage! Lin Xian used the Apocalypse Black Dragon Fist again, and used a terrifying technique. Boundless black dragon shadows quickly appeared, roaring in the void, and then rushed into the sky. Giant dragon carrying mountains. One after another, huge black dragons spiraled into the sky, lifting up the huge mountains in the sky and charging straight into the clouds. That incomparably terrifying fist of earth was also neutralized by this move. This scene made Li Wei's expression even more ugly. The other party had given him too many surprises. He was clearly a small rogue cultivator, not a martial artist from any top sect. However, he was able to break his 5-element fist. It was indeed unbelievable. Not only was the other party's sword chi incomparably sharp, but his fist technique was even more violent, as if it could destroy everything in time. He had never heard of such a fist technique before. Indeed, very few people could master the Apocalypse Black Dragon Fist. If Lin Xian did not have the Great Dragon Sword soul, he would not have been able to master such a terrifying fist technique. However, after fighting for so long, how could he stop now? Therefore, he shouted coldly and attacked again ruthlessly. Metal Element Fist! Golden light shone in the sky, enveloping the entire world. Li Wei's aura became incomparably sharp at this moment. It was as if he was the god of war. Between heaven and earth, there was golden light everywhere. It was like a golden sword that swept in all directions. It was overwhelming and incomparably sharp. Like a divine weapon, it charged towards Lin Xian. This was the metal element fist. Once it was used, it was incomparably terrifying. Lin Xian's expression also turned grave when he felt this sharp aura. He was not careless at all. He quickly formed a seal with his palms, and a golden heavenly rock also rushed out. The heavenly ping grew bigger with the wind and filled the void. Its entire body shone with golden light. Not only that, those golden feathers turned into countless sharp sword qis at this moment, crisscrossing the area. 108,000 swords! The terrifying sword light was like a surging river, gushing down. It collided with his opponent's fist of metal. Boom! The collision between the two caused a huge collision in the void. Countless bolts of lightning continuously descended. These two terrifying energies clashed with each other, causing terrifying cracks to appear in the void one after another. This scene was too frightening. Even the Five Elements sect martial artists who were fighting in the distance had a drastic change in expression. Zhao Tianxia was also paying close attention with a solemn expression. Li Wei's face darkened. He did not expect his opponent's sword qi to be so sharp, even surpassing his fist of metal. He couldn't believe it. One had to know that he was very confident in his fist of metal. It was a fist technique with extremely terrifying spiritual energy. Once it was used, it could even kill an ordinary 6-star king. But now, it was unable to shatter his opponent's sword qi. Damn it, I don't believe it. Break! Li Wei roared crazily, and the golden light on his body shone even brighter. Suddenly, golden fists appeared in the void one after another. They carried terrifying energy and fiercely blasted toward Lin Xian. The violent energies shook violently, shattering everything in the surroundings. Lin Xian also let out a long roar, and the sword qi on his body became even sharper. 108,000 swords, each extremely terrifying. They were like real dragons roaring in the void. Boom! 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 The entire space was completely pierced by the terrifying sword qi. Boom! Li Wei's face changed drastically. He felt incomparable pain all over his body, as if a mountain had crashed into him. He kept retreating. Every time he took a step back, a huge crack would appear on the ground. After retreating for more than 10 steps, the entire ground was completely cracked by him. There were even a few sword scars on his body. It was extremely terrifying. On the other side, Lin Xian stood tall and straight. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and he was completely unharmed. Seeing this scene, Zhao Tianxia and the other Five Elements sect disciples in the distance all paled. They did not expect Li Wei to be at a disadvantage in this battle. This was simply too unbelievable. One had to know that Li Wei was a genius martial artist of their Five Elements sect. He had even killed a 6-star king before. His strength could be said to be extremely terrifying. But they did not expect him to be suppressed now. Li Wei's face was even more ferocious. Damn it, impossible! How can his sword qi be so powerful? It can actually break my metal element fist. He gritted his teeth, unable to believe what was happening in front of him. Lin Xian said in a deep voice, I have to say that the Five-Element Fist is indeed extremely powerful. It's an ultimate technique that can pierce through heaven and earth. But it's a pity that you haven't mastered it. So you'll definitely lose this battle. Impudent. Damn brat, you're too arrogant. Don't think that you can win just because you've suppressed me. Let me tell you, I still have an ultimate move. Li Wei roared angrily. His opponent actually said that he had not mastered the Five-Element Fist. This was really infuriating. In the next moment, he used the Five-Element Fist again and attacked wildly. Lin Xian waved his hand, and the dragon sword realm directly enveloped his opponent. Thousands of terrifying sword qi crisscrossed. It turned into a silver river and blasted his opponent's body. Poof! Not long after, Li Wei's body was sent flying again, crashing into a mountain in the distance. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and there were many sword wounds on his body. His hair was disheveled, and he looked extremely miserable. Damn brat, just you wait. Li Wei gritted his teeth, feeling indignant. But this time, he did not attack. Instead, he turned around and fled into the distance. At the same time, he sent a voice transmission to Zhao Tianxie, asking him to leave with him. Humph! Zhao Tianxie's face was extremely ugly. He did not expect Li Wei to run away. However, he also quickly retreated. Because now, he was no match for Lin Xian. The two of them fled quickly. At the same time, they attacked wildly, shattering the array set up by the Crimson Dragon. He led the remaining 4 disciples of the Five-Element sect and fled into the distance. Trying to escape? Lin Xian sneered. Then, he moved and chased after Lin Xian. The Crimson Dragon also laughed strangely, waved his dragon's power, and followed. Ha 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 ha, little girl, now you know how powerful Ben Huang is. If you obediently become Ben Huang's human pets, maybe Ben Huang will be in a good mood and let you go. Otherwise, you're dead meat. He yelled and screamed like an old monster. Chapter 1733. Be obedient and be Ben Huang's human pets. Maybe Ben Huang will let you go if he's in a good mood. Otherwise, you're dead. He yelled and screamed like an old monster. Zhao Tianxie, who was in front of him, was furious. Her legs went soft, and she almost fell. Ah! Damn you, snake! I'll catch you and tear you to pieces! Zhao Tianxie roared madly, but he did not dare to stay. In the next moment, they entered a dense forest and disappeared. Lin Xian's figure flashed as he used the Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps. However, he found that this forest was too strange. He could not accurately capture the other party's tracks. This primeval forest was very mysterious. There was even a faint purple mist surrounding it. Not only did the mist block one's vision, it also interfered with soul power. Therefore, after entering this forest, Li Wei and the others had completely disappeared. Lin Xian frowned, but he still followed. He had to deal with Zhao Tianxie today. Otherwise, who knew how many more enemies she would bring to him in the future? Therefore, he and the Crimson Dragon walked inside. At first, he found some monsters nearby. He even witnessed a battle with his own eyes. A 20-meter-long crocodile with a murderous aura was hiding in the swamp. It suddenly dragged a white jade elephant into the swamp. The white jade elephant struggled crazily, causing the ground to tremble, but it could not break free. Soon, the violent tremors disappeared. The white jade elephant was killed, and its blood dyed the ground red. This set off the danger of this forest even more. Roar! Suddenly, a crocodile stretched out from the ground and bit at Lin Xian. The situation was exactly the same as before. Humph! Lin Xian snorted. He was not the white jade elephant. He would not be dragged into the swamp. His right leg kicked out like a coiling dragon. Boom! A violent vibration sounded. Even the ground was shaking. The mutated crocodile was kicked away. Seeing this, the surrounding crocodiles that wanted to attack suddenly stopped. It seemed that the human in front of him was not to be trifled with. They had plenty of food if they wanted, so there was no need to get into trouble. Therefore, these crocodiles all walked away. Lin Xian coldly snorted and set off again. Gradually, he frowned because he realized that the purple mist around him was getting thicker and thicker. Even the air seemed to have a corrosive quality. With a wave of his hand, streams of sword chi revolved around his body, resisting the corrosion. On the side, the Crimson Dragon's blood also surged, and a layer of red light rose from its body. Kid, be careful. The yin chi here is heavy. I'm afraid there are some undead creatures here. Lin Xian nodded with a solemn expression. This was not the first time he had seen such a place. Back in Foam Mountain, he had seen a similar environment. In such an environment, it was most likely for those kinds of undead creatures to appear. For example, zombies and skeletons. I'm afraid there will be some here as well. After all, there were killings every day in this primeval forest, and there were corpses of demonic beasts everywhere. In addition, in this environment, it would be strange if there were no zombies or skeletons. Sure enough, as he walked forward, he found a pile of skeletons floating in front of him. The small ones were 3 to 4 meters long, and the big ones were 20 to 30 meters long. These skeletons were scattered on the ground, and it seemed that they had been there for a long time. Lin Xian stepped on them, and they immediately turned into a pile of white powder and blended into the swamp. Gradually, the surroundings darkened. The crimson dragon shrunk its neck. "Kid, let's leave. This place is dark. I'm afraid there will be changes at night. Besides, those people from the Five Elements sect have entered here. I'm afraid they might not be able to leave." "Okay." Lin Xian nodded. He also felt that the atmosphere was a little heavy. Therefore, he did not want to stay in this place for too long. The two of them turned around and were about to leave. However, at this moment, an angry roar came from afar, followed by a low voice. "There was a battle." Lin Xian frowned, but the crimson dragon's eyes lit up. "Judging by the voice, it should be humans. Could it be those people from the Five Elements sect? Let's go take a look." Originally, the two of them had already left, but they did not expect to find new clues. Anyway, the distance was not far for them, so they might as well go take a look. If it was really the people from the Five Elements sect, then they would take care of them. The next moment, the two of them moved happily and ran forward. Sure enough, it was the people from the Five Elements sect in front of them. They were fighting a group of skeletons. These skeletons had strange shapes, but without exception, they were all made of bones. Although they were skeletons, their speed was extremely fast. They were like white lightning, constantly attacking the people from the Five Elements sect. The people from the Five Elements sect roared and counterattacked, colliding with the opponent's attack and making a low sound. Humph! In front, Li Wei's face was gloomy. He roared and the Five Elements fist rushed out quickly. Monstrous flames appeared, illuminating the sky. A fiery red fist fiercely blasted forward, sending a pile of skeletons flying. Furthermore, the power of the flames they carried with them was burning them. On the other side, Zhao Tianxia also waved his finger, and rays of silver light pierced through the void like the spears of gods and demons. They pierced through the skeletons. With the help of these two experts, the skeletons were quickly defeated. However, they were not happy because the surrounding swamp fluctuated again. 6 figures crawled out from the ground again. This time, it was no longer skeletons, but zombies. The 6 zombies were incomparably tall. Their faces were ferocious, and their bodies emitted a terrifying aura. The clothes on their bodies were very old and tattered. As soon as the 6 zombies appeared, they roared and pounced crazily at the people from the Five Elements sect. "Get lost!" Li Wei roared and directly rushed out with the fire element fist, sending one of the zombies flying. However, what was shocking was that the zombie that was sent flying stood up again, and the clothes on its body were even more tattered. However, it was not injured. What? How is this possible? The people from the Five Elements sect were extremely shocked, and their scalps went numb. That was the fire element fist. It was very terrifying, and even a 6-star king would not be able to withstand it. However, the zombie in front of them was unharmed? This was simply too unbelievable. On the other side, Zhao Tianxia also roared. The silver light turned into sharp saber lights and slashed the surrounding zombies, making clanging sounds. Sparks flew in all directions, and the void shook, but it did not have much effect. The silver light only left shallow white marks on the zombies' bodies. It could not penetrate them at all. Damn it, how could this be? Everyone's faces were ugly. Chapter 1734. Damn it, how could this be? I can't pierce through them? Impossible, how can they be so powerful? Everyone's faces were ugly. They discovered that these 6 zombies were much more terrifying than the skeletal creatures from before. The other party's attacks were not particularly fierce, and their speed was not particularly fast either. However, that defense was simply too strong. It was as if their bones were made of divine gold and iron, and they were not damaged at all. Therefore, the people of the Five Elements sect were so angry that they roared crazily. To be honest, Lin Xian, who was hiding in the dark and observing, was also extremely shocked. He had experienced the power of the Fist of Fire before. That valiant power shocked him to the core. Moreover, he knew that even a 6-star king might not be able to resist it. However, these zombies were not harmed at all. It was indeed shocking. However, soon, the corners of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. That was because he had already decided to attack. In front of him, the people of the 5 Elements sect were fighting with the 6 zombies. The commotion was extremely terrifying. However, suddenly, Li Wei frowned because his heart was beating wildly as if he had a bad premonition. In the next moment, his figure retreated rapidly. However, at this moment, the void where he was originally standing was directly cut open, and a black crack appeared. Terrifying killing intent spread out in all directions as if ice had arrived. Eh? He actually dodged it. Lin Xian held the demonic sword in his hand and appeared. To be honest, he was also extremely surprised. He did not expect the other party to be so vigilant. Damn brat, it's actually you! When Li Wei saw the other party, his expression immediately became extremely ugly. He did not expect the other party to still chase after him. Moreover, he chose this moment to attack. Fortunately, he reacted quickly enough just now. Otherwise, he would have been severely injured by now. Even so, his expression was still very ugly. However, soon, the corners of his mouth curled into a cold smile. Originally, he was already having a headache because of the 6 zombies. Now that the other party was here, he could shift the trouble away. He would let the detestable thief in front of him fight with the 6 zombies. Meanwhile, they could calmly retreat. However, he soon realized that his idea would not work at all. That was because the other party's speed was too fast. It was so fast that it made his heart palpitate. Therefore, not only did he not shift the blame, he even had to endure the combined attacks of the zombies and Lin Xian. For a moment, his situation became even more dangerous. 1. A wisp of sword light like autumn water, incomparably sharp, directly slashed down from the sky. Seeing this, Li Wei quickly retreated, wanting to retreat. However, at the same time, 2 sword gods appeared behind him and quickly attacked. In addition, he was surrounded by zombies, so he couldn't escape at all. He could only take it head-on. Puff! However, he still underestimated these 2 sword god phantoms. At this moment, the 2 sword god phantoms were incomparably sharp. They were like 2 heavenly blades that directly injured Li Wei. Immediately blood spurted out. Li Wei roared madly as his entire body slowed down. However, at this moment, the 3 zombies in front of him smelled the fresh blood and rushed over in a frenzy. 6 terrifying palms ruthlessly slapped Li Wei's body. Pung pung pung! An earth-shattering collision sound rang out, and Li Wei's body was once again sent flying, smashing into the ground, creating an incomparably terrifying crater. Senior brother! Seeing this scene, the remaining 5 Elements sect disciples hurriedly ran over. On the other hand, Zhao Tianxia's face was gloomy. In the end, her eyes flickered as she gritted her teeth and snorted coldly. Her body turned into a silver light and fled into the distance. She didn't care about the 5 Elements sect anymore. Seeing this scene, Li Wei was so angry that he vomited blood. His already heavily injured body became even more serious. He didn't expect Zhao Tianxia to flee at the last minute. He couldn't believe it. Originally, he didn't have any enmity with Lin Xian. He only wanted to kill Lin Xian to win Zhao Tianxia's favor. However, he didn't expect Zhao Tianxia to flee. He couldn't believe it at all. Humph, ignorant fellow. You don't even know that you've been used! Lin Xian snorted coldly. At the same time, he ordered the Dark Flood Dragon God to chase after Zhao Tianxia. As for himself, he was keeping an eye on the 5 Elements sect disciples. On the other side, Li Wei's expression was very ugly. He swallowed a few pills and quickly healed his injuries. At the same time, with the help of a few people, he kept fighting. This was because the surrounding zombies were attacking again. As he dodged, Li Wei yelled crazily. Stop fighting! I have no enmity with you! Previously, I was possessed. I actually believed that bitch's words and became your enemy. Now that I know what kind of person that B***tch is, I won't be your enemy anymore. Why don't we stop here and shake hands and make peace? I know that you have a grudge with that B*TCH. As long as you let us go, I promise that the Five Elements sect will help you catch that B*TCH and tear her into pieces. His words were very sincere, but Lin Xian could see the killing intent in his eyes. He immediately sneered. You don't have to worry about who I have a grudge with. However, will the Five Elements sect really help me? Don't think that I don't know what you sect disciples are thinking. I'm afraid that if I let you go today, you'll lead a group of Five Elements sect experts to hunt me down tomorrow. I won't leave any trouble for myself. Damn it! Seeing that Lin Xian didn't believe him, Li Wei's face turned even uglier. He didn't expect that Lin Xian wouldn't let him go. He gritted his teeth and said, Kid, you have to think carefully. I'm a genius disciple of the Five Elements sect. If anything happens to me, the Five Elements sect won't let you go. Lin Xian sneered. What? You want to use force when you can't persuade me? Do you think that this kind of threat will work on me? Since you dare to have ideas about me, you'll have to pay the price. After saying that, Lin Xian didn't say anything else. The sword aura on his body became even sharper. With a wave of his hand, the dragon sword realm flew out and completely enveloped the other party. He didn't attack directly. Instead, he coordinated with the attacks of the 6 zombies and continuously slashed out sword aura. The 6 zombies were extremely powerful and forced the Five Elements sect to retreat. In addition, Lin Xian's sword aura put them in danger. Not long after, those people were seriously injured. 2 of them were even directly pierced by the sword aura. Damn kid, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. At the last moment, Li Wei roared crazily and burned his spiritual power without caring about the consequences. Then, 5 different elemental lights appeared around him, circling around him and enveloping him. It was obvious that he was going to risk his life. He was going to burn his power at all costs and escape from this place. However, how could Lin Xian let him go? In the next moment, Lin Xian's eyes burst with light. Rays of golden light shot out from his eyes, accompanied by mysterious Tao patterns. These eyes, this is. Chapter 1735. These eyes, this is. When Li Wei saw Lin Xian's golden eyes, his scalp went numb. It was as if he had seen a ghost. He was a genius of the Five Elements sect, so he naturally knew about the heavenly secret divine eyes that had caused an uproar a while ago. Moreover, he had also heard about the legends of these divine eyes. However, he had never imagined that he would discover such an eye technique in his opponent's eyes. This was simply too shocking. How could his opponent have the heavenly secret divine eyes? Could he be a member of the heavenly secret race? He seemed to have discovered a shocking piece of news. However, in the next moment, his body trembled as he fell into an illusion. With his current soul power, he was unable to resist the illusion of the heavenly secret divine eyes. Puff! On the other side, Li Wei had a sinister expression as he resisted with all his might. However, his body was still in place. In the next moment, Lin Xian used the 9 nether devil sword and a black sword. She sliced his opponent in half. Buzz! The golden light in Lin Xian's eyes disappeared. His figure flickered as he took the opponent's storage ring. He pulled away from the 6 zombies and flew into the distance. The 6 zombies roared again and again. However, in the end, they gave up on chasing Lin Xian. They returned to the corpses of Li Wei and the others and quickly ate them. This scene was extremely terrifying. If someone were to see it, they would definitely scream. However, this was none of Lin Xian's business. He followed the Crimson Dragon's trail and went to kill Zhao Tianxia. Compared to Li Wei, Zhao Tianxia was an even greater threat. This was because Zhao Tianxia knew that he had fought against the people of the Five Elements sect and the All Beginnings Holy Land. If Zhao Tianxia spread this matter, the All Beginnings Holy Land and the Five Elements sect would definitely not let him off. Moreover, Zhao Tianxia's charming technique was extremely strange and could confuse those genius cultivators. If this happened, he would have many more enemies. Therefore, he had to get rid of that witch. Before long, Lin Xian met up with the Crimson Dragon. Unfortunately, he did not see Zhao Tianxia's figure. "What's going on?" Lin Xian asked. "That damned girl. She's too strange. I can't believe she got away." The dark red divine dragon was also furious. "He ran away?" Lin Xian was also shocked. He was well aware of the Crimson Dragon's methods. It was extremely terrifying. Even if it was tracking a powerful being, it would still be able to chase after it. But now, he actually managed to escape. One had to admit that Zhao Tianxia was too strange and mysterious. "That girl's bloodline is very special, and her regenerative ability is very strong. I'm afraid it won't be easy to catch her," the Crimson Dragon said in a deep voice. After that, the two of them searched the area again and found that the other party had completely disappeared. Thus, the two of them could only retreat decisively. Since they couldn't find him, they didn't want to stay here any longer. That was because there were zombies and skeletons all around. If they weren't careful, a fight would break out. The two of them quickly left the area and found a safe place to hide. The next day, when the sun rose, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon came out again. They realized that after walking around for a while, they had actually arrived near the Golden Beach. However, the beach here wasn't the same as the one they had stopped at previously. Since they were here again, Lin Xian took out a beast corpse from the black earth, and the two of them started to roast it. The sun gradually rose and the sunlight shone over the entire sea. The water rippled, and the sunlight was so bright that it was difficult to open one's eyes. However, amidst the endless sunlight, a figure walked over. "Someone's coming!" Lin Xian and the Anhui Divine Dragon both had serious expressions on their faces. That was because the people who came last time were Gui Chuanfei and the others. After that, they had a huge battle with them. They didn't expect another person to come this time. However, they didn't know which sect this person belonged to. In front of the sea, a white figure walked on the waves. His speed was very fast. With a single step, he could cross 1,000 feet. It was as if he could shrink the ground into an inch. After a few steps, he arrived at the Golden Beach. It was a very handsome man in white. His clothes fluttered in the wind, making him look like an immortal descending to the mortal world. He wasn't old. He was only in his 20s. He seemed to be about the same age as Lin Xian. His eyes were as bright as the stars. The vitality in his body was even more vigorous. It was as if an ancient beast was hibernating in his body. Lin Xian was shocked. The man in white in front of him was definitely extremely powerful. Even he felt a sense of trepidation. When the man in white saw Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon, he was also slightly surprised. However, his expression soon calmed down. "You two are?" the man in white asked in a deep voice. He didn't know Lin Xian at all, but he could feel how terrifying he was. That surprised him. One had to know that his background was extremely extraordinary. Moreover, his strength was extremely powerful. There were very few people who could match him in the same realm. However, he didn't expect to meet someone who was about the same age as him and whose strength was unfathomable. Therefore, he was very curious. "I'm Long Xian. I'm a rogue cultivator," Lin Xian said. Now that he was wanted by the Wavering Light's sacred land, he naturally wouldn't use his real name. "Long Xian?" the man in white whispered, as if trying to recall the name. However, he realized that he had never heard of this person. However, that didn't mean that he would underestimate this person. "I'm Yu Wudao," the man in white said in a deep voice. "Yu Wudao? What a domineering name!" Lin Xian was shocked. He realized that this person was indeed surprising. Compared to Gui Chuanfei and the others, he was much stronger. Although he hadn't seen this person's true strength, Lin Xian was certain. To the side, the Crimson Dragon was also shocked. He was shocked that this person's surname was Yi. The surname Yi was not an ordinary surname in the Eastern Wilderness. In the Eastern Wilderness, there was a clan of the ancients with the surname Yi. However, he didn't know if this Yi Wudao in front of him was a disciple of a clan of the ancients. "Brother Dragon, may I know if there's anything strange about this land?" Yi Wudao asked. He had just arrived, so he naturally wanted to ask about it. Lin Xian saw that Yi Wudao didn't have any killing intent towards him, and didn't put on airs either. Therefore, he roughly explained the situation here. He had too many enemies now, and he needed some companions. And this Yi Wudao in front of him seemed to be a good person. Therefore, Lin Xian wanted to get closer to him. As the two of them were talking, a few figures flew over from the sea in the distance. These figures had powerful auras, and they were very fast. It didn't take long for them to reach the beach. When they arrived on the beach, they began to look around. When they saw the man in white, their expressions changed. They didn't expect him to be here. However, what was even more shocking was that the white-robed young man, Leaf Dao Denier, was standing next to someone else. Chapter 1736. However, what shocked them even more was that the white-clothed youth, Yi Wudao, was actually standing side by side with someone else. Who is that person? He's actually standing together with Yi Wudao? For a time, those people were shocked. They all looked at Lin Xian. But then, they became even more confused. They didn't recognize this person at all. Moreover, they had never heard of this person in the various peak powers. Perhaps he was a genius disciple that those peak powers had secretly raised. These people thought to themselves. Because in their opinion, anyone who could stand together with Yi Wudao was absolutely not an ordinary person. While these people were sizing up Lin Xian was also sizing them up. This was because he discovered that these people were indeed abnormally strong. Each one of them seemed stronger than people like Li Wei and Gui Chuanfei. Moreover, these people didn't seem very old. They were in their 20s, and the oldest was in their 30s. They were all from the younger generation. There was no need to think about it. These were all geniuses of peerless sex and peerless holy lands. This refreshed Lin Xian's opinion of these peak powers. He originally thought that people like Gui Chuanfei and Li Wei would be considered decent geniuses in these peak powers. But now, it seemed that he was far from correct. Every single person here was stronger than Gui Chuanfu and Li Wei. Perhaps those two people from before were only ordinary disciples in their peerless holy lands. Thinking of this, Lin Xian sucked in a breath of cold air. In the next moment, Lin Xian exclaimed in admiration. What a beautiful woman! That's right, there was a beautiful voice among the people who had arrived. Her beautiful face was not inferior to Murong Qingqing's. She was definitely an unrivaled beauty. At this time, the people in front of him quickly greeted him. Brother Yi, I didn't expect to see you here. Yi Wudao nodded. Then, he explained to Lin Xian. Do you see that beautiful woman? She's a genius disciple of the All Beginnings Holy Land. Lu Mingwei. She has a very high chance of becoming the All Beginnings Holy Daughter. Lu Mingwei, a candidate for the Holy Daughter. Hearing this, Lin Xian was also shocked. Firstly, he did not expect the woman in front of him to be so powerful that she was qualified to be the saintess. Furthermore, what shocked him even more was that the other party was actually someone from the All Beginnings Holy Land. One had to know that not long ago, he had killed Gui Chuanfei and several other martial artists of the All Beginnings Holy Land. He hadn't expected to run into people from the All Beginnings Holy Land. If news of him leaked out, there would be a battle between the two sides. Other than Lu Mingwei, the others were also very powerful. One of them was even more eye-catching because he was too tall. It was a full 3 meters. The muscles on his body coiled like a dragon, emitting a terrifying aura. It was like a humanoid beast, terrifying to the extreme. According to Yi Wudao's introduction, Lin Xian knew that this powerful youth was a martial artist from the Four Symbols Holy Lands. His strength was boundless and incomparably terrifying. The other two were also disciples of great sections. Among them was a pale-faced youth. When he saw the vast primeval forest in front of him, his eyes lit up. What a beautiful forest! It seems that this place is indeed suitable for me. Lin Xian was stunned. He did not know why the other party said that. However, in the next instant, he understood. That was because he saw the pale-faced youth walking forward. Soon after, the tall trees in front of him started to tremble. Many branches and vines came to life at this moment, and all of them quickly extended towards the pale-faced young man. In fact, wherever the youth walked, grass would grow on the ground. There were also unknown flowers. What kind of technique is this? Lin Xian was shocked and sucked in a breath of cold air. His name is Yan Qing. His domain is the thorned flower domain. It's very special. It belongs to the plant system. It's very special. The white-clothed youth, Yu Wudao, explained. So that's how it is. Lin Xian nodded after hearing that. He had to admit that these people were too mystical. The pale-faced youth, Yan Qing, looked around and said with a smile, It seems that we aren't too late. There aren't many people in the forest. Indeed. Yu Wudao nodded. However, it won't be long before more experts come here. On the other side, Lu Mingwe said in a sweet voice, It's easy to come here, but it won't be so easy to leave. I didn't expect there to be indigenous people here. That's a big problem. Lu Mingwe was not only beautiful, but her voice was also very pleasant. Everyone frowned when they heard her words. Indeed, there were indigenous people here. They could be said to be a potential threat, because they did not know when they would make a move. Moreover, they still did not understand how to leave this special mystic world. Boom! However, at that moment, an earth-shattering sound suddenly came from the sea in the distance. Then, a wave of air exploded and boundless waves slapped in all directions. One of the waves was 1,000 feet tall. It rushed toward Lin Xian as if it wanted to devour them. Humph! The 3-meter-tall youth, Ouyang Feng, snorted and waved his fist. The terrifying power directly shattered the horrifying waves. However, the others frowned because they did not understand what was going on. But soon their eyes widened. Even Yu Wudao, Lin Xian, and the others felt their scalps go numb, because they discovered that there was a battle in front of them. Above the sea in the distance, a fierce battle was going on at this moment. One side of the battle was a human powerhouse. They did not know which sect he was from, but the aura he emitted was abnormally terrifying. His opponent, on the other hand, was a terrifying black octopus. Its body was huge, like a small island, and it emitted an incomparably terrifying demonic aura. The battle between the two was abnormally fierce. Seeing this black octopus, Lin Xian's heart beat wildly, because he had encountered this opponent before. However, he had dodged it quickly. But he did not expect that there would be someone who dared to fight the black octopus. Because from what he felt at that time, this black octopus was very terrifying. It was probably at the level of a human almighty. Ordinary martial artists were not its opponent at all. But now, it seemed that the human powerhouse could contend with it. Could it be that an almighty has made a move? The pale blue youth's eyes flickered. It was indeed an almighty. Lu Mingyue's expression was also solemn. But soon she frowned. But this power doesn't seem right. Something was wrong, something was indeed wrong. Not only her, but everyone else had noticed it. Among them, Yu Wudao frowned. This power doesn't seem like an almighty at all. Chapter 1737. What's going on? Is he hiding his strength? That can't be. That black octopus is extremely terrifying and has reached the level of an almighty. He wouldn't be so careless. Indeed, the black octopus was extremely terrifying. As it waved its 8 tentacles, it brought about a terrifying light as it bombarded the opponent. As for the human almighty, he was dodging non-stop. However, the power he used did not seem to be at the level of an almighty. He did not even use some of the almighty's techniques. What was going on? Everyone frowned. They did not understand what the other party was doing. Based on the current situation, the human almighty was extremely dangerous. Sure enough, after a few hundred moves, the human almighty was hit by a huge tentacle and his body was smashed into the sea. Not only that, the black octopus roared. A black ball of light formed above its head and blasted into the sea. Boom! The ball of light was so terrifying that it completely overturned the entire sea. The aftermath of the energy caused Lin Xian, Yi Wudao, and the others to hurriedly put up their energy defenses to resist. Because this was the energy of an almighty, they were unable to resist it. However, the aftermath could still be blocked. After a long time, the entire sea returned to normal. In the distance, blood flowed along the sea. Soon, a corpse floated up. What? He was killed! How could this be? Everyone's eyes widened in disbelief. A dignified human mighty figure had actually been killed. That was too unbelievable. One had to know that that was a human almighty. Extremely terrifying. Even if he could not defeat the black octopus, escaping would not be a problem. However, he had been killed by the black octopus. What puzzled them was that the human almighty had not displayed any extraordinary techniques from the beginning to the end. That was why he was killed. What's going on? Was that almighty seriously injured? Is that why he couldn't use his full strength? Lu Minghua frowned. The group was very confused. The Crimson Dragon's expression was extremely ugly. What's wrong, Rizalom? Lin Xian asked. That almighty was not injured, the Crimson Dragon said in a deep voice. However, his strength has not reached the almighty realm. There might be one possibility. What possibility? Even Leaf Dao Denier and the others were curious. His cultivation is being suppressed, said the Crimson Dragon. The oblique moon profound world is a world of its own, and its laws are different from the outside world. Here, we can't easily mobilize the surrounding spiritual energy. In other words, the rules here are very disadvantageous to outsiders like us. If that's the case, it wouldn't be difficult for the Almighty's cultivation to be suppressed. After all, it contained the power of the laws. Hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. The fact that the cultivation level of an almighty being was being suppressed was simply too shocking. However, what the Crimson Dragon said was reasonable. They were not ordinary warriors. They were all top geniuses of various major forces. They were experienced and knowledgeable. Thus, they believed those words in their hearts. If this was true, then it was definitely very bad news. Because in this way, their advantage would be gone. The clan of the remote antiquity, the peerless sacred grounds and other forces in the eastern barren territory had all sent grand overlords. But now, if their cultivation levels were being suppressed, the situation would be very disadvantageous for them if they encountered the natives. For example, the giant octopus from before could kill grand overlords. Thinking of this, their faces turned gloomy. Lin Xian, on the other hand, was overjoyed. It might not be good news for the major forces that the Almighty's cultivation level was being suppressed, but for him, this was the best news. Because he was alone, without any sect, and there was no grand overlord protecting him. Originally, he was worried that it would be difficult for him to escape if the grand overlords of the Wavering Light's sacred ground chased after him. But now, it seemed that these things were no longer a problem. If the grand overlord's cultivation level was suppressed, no matter how powerful he was, Lin Xian would have no problem escaping if he couldn't defeat him. Moreover, there were many monsters in this primitive forest. As long as he made use of them, it wouldn't be a problem for him to kill grand overlords. Thinking of this, he felt a burst of excitement. Humph! Wavering Light Sacred Ground, how dare you put me on the wanted list for so long? You'd better not let me run into you. Otherwise, I'll definitely give you a super gift. Lin Xian coldly snorted in his heart. Since they knew about this situation, they had to make preparations in advance and inform the other members of the sect as soon as possible. Therefore, Lu Minghua and the other three said, Brother Yi, we're going to leave this place. Would you like to join us? Hearing this, Yi Wudao shook his head and said, No, I have other things to do. All right, then we'll part ways here. Lu Minghua smiled sweetly. Then, the four of them moved and left the place. During this process, they didn't invite Lin Xian. In their opinion, although Lin Xian was mysterious, he wasn't qualified to be with them. Regarding this, Lin Xian remained calm. After all, even if they invited him, he would still refuse. He couldn't walk together with the people of the All Beginnings Holy Land. Then Yi Wadao also left. For a time, only Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were left on the beach. However, the two of them moved quickly. Their goal was the dragon crystal in this primitive forest. After killing Li Wei, Guo Chuanfei, and the others, Lin Xian believed that apart from those powerful monstrous beasts, there was no one else in this forest that could be his match. But now, it seemed that things had changed. The cultivators that had rushed over from behind were too powerful. For example, Yi Wadao, Lu Mingwei, and the others were all extremely terrifying. They far surpassed the cultivators from before. This posed an enormous threat to him. Therefore, he had to find the dragon crystal and increase his cultivation. Only then would he be able to survive in this forest. And so, they entered the forest again. However, after walking for a while, the little snow-white monkey suddenly jumped out. It grabbed Lin Xian's hair and started chirping non-stop. Its little paws were constantly gesturing as if it wanted to bring him to a certain place. "Where are we going?" Lin Xian asked. Then, he followed the little monkey into the forest. But not long after, Lin Xian's face darkened. That was because he discovered that the little monkey had brought him to the lair of a monstrous beast king. Moreover, it wasn't an ordinary monstrous beast king. It was the incomparably ferocious six-armed divine ape from before. The Crimson Dragon felt his scalp go numb. He said in a low voice, "Damn brat, are you trying to kill us? Why did you bring us here?" His voice was so low that it was almost inaudible. That was because the six-armed divine ape was sleeping. He was afraid of disturbing it. Chapter 1738. If it woke up and discovered them, it would be difficult for them to escape. The little white monkey waved its paws as if to say that it was very safe here. Lin Xian was very suspicious. He carefully probed with his soul power, and found that the six-armed abyss seemed to be in a very strange state. It probably wouldn't wake up for a while. Should we go and take a look? Anyway, he had mastered the heavenly dragon's 8 steps and his speed was terrifying. Even if there was danger, he should be able to escape. Therefore, Lin Xian decided to go and take a look. After all, if the little white monkey was so concerned about it, it was probably a rare treasure. Therefore, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon discussed for a while and then cautiously walked forward. In front of them, the six-armed godly ape was like a small golden mountain, crawling there. Although it was in a strange deep sleep, the demonic aura emitted from its body was still very terrifying. It made them all feel a sense of trepidation. Not only that, when Lin Xian got closer, he found that there were a few terrifying cracks on the back of the six-armed godly ape. It must have been injured by the 9th heaven divine thunder that day. It was probably in a deep sleep now because of the injuries on its body. If that was the case, Lin Xian and the others would be much safer. In front of them, the little white monkey was jumping up and down on the six-armed godly ape quickly. This scene almost made the Crimson Dragon's jaw drop. He quickly pulled the little white monkey over and scolded it. He was afraid that it would wake up the six-armed godly ape. However, it was reassuring that the six-armed godly ape hadn't woken up yet. Whoa whoa. The little white monkey stopped fooling around. It pointed to the front and signaled Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon to go over. Then it took the lead and ran over. Could it be that there's really a treasure? Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon quickly went over. Then they were stunned. Because they found that there was a 5-colored stone in front of them. The 5-colored stone was the size of a palm and stood in front of them. It was surrounded by a 5-colored radiance, and emitted waves of spiritual qi. When Lin Xian saw it, he was also stunned. "Rosalong, what is this?" he asked in bewilderment. "I don't know." The Crimson Dragon shook its head. He was experienced and knowledgeable, but he still didn't know what the 5-colored stone in front of him was. Because that stone was simply too strange. Judging from the brilliance, it seemed to be a treasure. However, the faint aura it gave off seemed to be something that had existed for a very long time. It gave people a very contradictory feeling. In the next moment, the Crimson Dragon waved its claws, trying to grab the colorful stone. But soon, he was stunned. because he realized that he couldn't pull it out at all. That 5-colored stone seemed to be connected to the earth. It was abnormally hard. F***ck, did I see a ghost? The Crimson Dragon didn't believe it. It circulated its strength again and pulled up quickly. However, he couldn't shake it at all. F***ck, this is really weird. Ben Wang can't pull it out. The Crimson Dragon frowned angrily. Lin Xian stopped him when he saw that the Crimson Dragon was about to attack again. Rouxalong, don't mess around. It won't be good if you break this treasure. Let me try. After saying that, he stretched out his palm and grabbed in front of him. A palm of light appeared and carefully enveloped the 5-colored stone. Then, he pulled it up forcefully. The result was the same. He still couldn't pull it out. This is really weird. Lin Xian was also surprised. He didn't dare to use his full strength for fear of alarming the 6-armed ape beside him. However, judging from the strength he had exerted, even if it was a mountain, he would be able to pull it out. But now, he couldn't pull out a stone the size of a palm. It was really too weird. However, the little white monkey squinted his big eyes like crescent moons. He quickly ran in front of the 5-colored stone, then stretched out his furry little paws and hugged it in his arms. Plop! With a gentle hug, the little white monkey pulled out the 5-colored stone. What? That works? The dark red dragon widened its eyes, unable to believe what it was seeing. Lin Xian's mouth twitched. He couldn't pull it out after using so much strength, but the little white monkey pulled it out with a gentle hug. This was too weird. Sigh. The Crimson Dragon held his chin and thought for a long time before saying, This is definitely a treasure. Legend has it that a divine item can choose its owner. It seems that the two of us were unlucky to not be chosen by the divine item. Lin Xian was also confused. You mean we couldn't pull out the 5-colored stone because we weren't fated with the treasure? And Little White was chosen? That should be the case. The Crimson Dragon sighed. Damn that little guy. His luck is too good to be able to obtain such a divine item. Lin Xian also heaved a sigh of relief. Although he didn't get it, it was good to give it to the little white monkey. After all, Little White was his partner. Since they had obtained the 5-colored stone, Lin Xian and the other two didn't dare to stay here any longer. They quickly moved and ran into the distance. This time, they climbed over more than a dozen mountains in a row. After putting enough distance between them, they stopped. They had no choice. This thing was next to the 6-armed ape. Who knew if it belonged to it? If it woke up and found that the divine item was gone, it would definitely go berserk. They couldn't fight against a berserk monster king. Therefore, they could only run as far as they could. In a safe forest, Lin Xian and the other two stopped. Then, the little white monkey jumped on the ground, still holding the 5-colored stone in its arms. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon also observed it carefully. They didn't take a closer look before and only felt that the 5-colored stone was extraordinary. Now that they took a closer look, it was indeed so. The 5-colored stone was the size of a palm and almost as tall as the little white monkey. There were 5 colors on it, and it emitted a bright light. It was like a divine light that contained a lot of power. Lin Xian even found that wherever the 5-colored stone was, the surrounding spiritual energy would involuntarily gather towards it. Could it be that the 5-colored stone can absorb the spiritual energy between heaven and earth? Lin Xian was shocked. The snow-white little monkey hugged the 5-colored divine stone and was as happy as a child. It took a deep breath, and a 5-colored light appeared on the 5-colored stone and then entered the little white fox's body. Soon, Little White's body was suffused with a faint 5-colored light. It was very sacred. Damn! At the side, the Crimson Dragon was very envious. Its saliva was almost dripping onto the ground. In the next moment, it also took a deep breath. Suddenly, a 5-colored light rushed out and entered the Crimson Dragon's body. Damn, no way! I can absorb it too? The Crimson Dragon was very excited. Lin Xian tried and found that he could absorb it too. This made him very happy. However, he found that after they absorbed it, the 5-colored stone's light became much dimmer. Damn, no way! It's out of energy? Chapter 1739. Damn, are you kidding me? There's no more energy? The Crimson Dragon's eyelids twitched. After waiting for a long time, he heaved a sigh of relief. He realized that the five-colored holy stone was gradually regaining its luster. The stone could automatically replenish its energy. The Crimson Dragon opened his mouth wide. It was indeed a heaven-defying divine object. Lin Xian was also shocked. Judging from the energy absorbed just now, it was no less than the energy of the dragon crystal. More importantly, the five-colored holy stone could replenish its energy by itself. It was equivalent to an unlimited dragon crystal. However, the only drawback was that the five-colored holy stone did not contain much energy. It would take some time to absorb it. Oh no! The little white monkey was also playing with the five-colored holy stone in its hand. However, from the looks of it, he seemed to think that the stone was too big for him to carry. However, the stone seemed to be very intelligent. It could understand Little White's meaning. Hence, under the shocked gazes of Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon, the five-colored holy stone gradually became smaller. However, the light on it became even more dazzling. In the end, it became like a jelly bean and was swallowed by the little white monkey. Damn, no way! Damn monkey, you actually ate it? This is a treasure! The little white monkey looked at him with disdain. Then, it opened its mouth and spat out the five-colored holy stone again. Not only that, but the five-colored holy stone was even more intelligent this time. Under Little White's furry paws, it kept changing into various forms. Swords, spears, staffs, cloaks, clothes, helmets. In short, it could change into various forms. The little white monkey was very excited by this change. The Crimson Dragon was also curious. He took it and tried it. In the end, he realized that he could not make the five-colored holy stone do this. Lin Xian was shocked. It seemed that the five-colored holy stone was born to belong to the little white monkey. Just as the few of them were studying the five-colored god stone, a furious roar suddenly came from afar. That voice was too terrifying. It contained infinite anger. In an instant, the clouds in the sky were shattered. On top of that, the ground began to tremble violently. In fact, a few of the mountain peaks even exploded. Hearing this sound, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon felt their scalps tingle. They knew that the six-armed ape had woken up. The six-armed divine ape had indeed woken up. However, the moment it woke up, it was incomparably furious. This was because he discovered that the five-colored divine stone beside him had disappeared without a trace. This made him extremely furious. So in the next moment, he immediately went berserk. The six-armed godly ape was an extremely terrifying demon king with heaven-defying strength. Its rampage caused the entire primeval forest to descend into chaos. That terrifying body swept in all directions. The demonic aura on his body soared into the sky, forming a golden demonic cloud that bared its fangs and brandished its claws. The nearby demonic beasts were all affected and fled madly. Even a few human ancient martial art practitioners were affected by it. The six arms waved and grabbed the nearby mountain peaks, uprooting them. Not only that, the six-armed divine ape did not find the whereabouts of the five-colored divine stone after searching the surroundings. Thus, he began to run towards the distance. The earth trembled as if there was an earthquake. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon felt their scalps tingle. They hurriedly took the little white monkey and left. However, the little white monkey was not afraid. It shrank the five-colored divine stone again and swallowed it directly into its mouth, cutting off the connection between the five-colored divine stone and the outside world. As expected, the six-armed divine ape could no longer find the right direction. It could only destroy everything around it. Only when the six-armed divine ape left and Lin Xian and the other two were safe did they heave a sigh of relief. Then, the Crimson Dragon set up a spirit-gathering array. The little white monkey stood in the spirit-gathering array with the five-colored divine stone in its arms. In the next moment, the five-colored divine stone shone brightly. Lin Xian and the other two absorbed the five-colored energy together. Whoosh! Whoosh! The energy was too pure and rich. Lin Xian's secret art of longevity was running wildly in his body, absorbing the energy of the lotus with all his might. 5 days later, a low vibration came from Lin Xian's body. It was like a muffled thunder. Then, a terrifying energy surged from his body. Boom! Sword Chi soared into the sky. It was incomparably sharp. It slashed through the void and disappeared into the clouds above. In the next moment, Lin Xian opened his eyes. Golden light flashed in his eyes. There were even mysterious Tao patterns appearing. The aura on his body was as deep as the sea. It was extremely terrifying. I broke through! Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. A smile appeared on his face. Finally, he had successfully broken through to the 4-star king realm. Compared to before, his cultivation and strength had increased tremendously. Sensing that the great dragon sword soul had become more powerful, Lin Xian revealed a satisfied smile. Now, even if he encountered Lu Mingwei or other genius martial artists, he would not be afraid. Moreover, with the 5-colored divine stone in his hand, his strength would continue to increase. Then, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon went on their way again. Half a day later, a valley appeared in front of them. The surrounding vegetation was lush, and the spirit chi was very dense. The valley was filled with flowers, birds, and beasts. It was like a paradise on earth. Not only that, Lin Xian saw 2 familiar faces in the valley. Lu Mingwei and the pale-faced young man, Yan Qing. Lu Mingwei was in a blue dress. Her body was graceful, and she was very agile and elegant. Her peerless face was like a dream. Beside her, Yan Qing's face was pale. There was a strange glow on his body. It was as if he could dominate the entire forest. In the next moment, the two of them turned around and stared at Lin Xian. Then they frowned. Why are you here? Lu Mingwei asked. Her voice was cold. I passed by on the way. I didn't expect you to be here too, Lin Xian replied in a deep voice. When he saw the other party's expression, he became vigilant. He thought that they knew that Guo Chuanfei and the others had been killed. In front, Lu Mingyue's clothes fluttered like a fairy. Her eyes were filled with arrogance. She looked down at Lin Xian and said coldly, Leave. This is not a place where you can come. There are some things that you can't touch. Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned. The other party's attitude made him very unhappy. However, at the same time, he also relaxed. Because he realized that it wasn't about Guo Chuanfei. Instead, the other party seemed to have discovered something and didn't want others to enter the valley. Lin Xian shook his head slightly. He didn't want to be entangled with the other party, so his figure flashed and he left the area, flying into the distance. Yan Qing's eyes were cold as he watched Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon leave. He's lucky that he ran fast enough. Otherwise, I would definitely bury him under my thorn flower. Lu Mingwei frowned slightly and said softly, His origin is a little mysterious. He actually knows Yi Wudao. But fortunately, he was tactful and didn't force his way into the valley. Otherwise, we would have to make a move on him. In the next moment, the two of them retracted their gazes and ignored Lin Xian. Instead, they looked at the valley. That thing should be here. Search carefully. We can't let it escape. Chapter 1740. Soon, the two unleashed their powerful soul powers and began searching the valley. On the other side, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon left the valley. Brat, those two were too arrogant. Why didn't you attack them? The Crimson Dragon snorted angrily. The other party's arrogant attitude made it very unhappy. Lin Xian shook his head. No hurry. There's no need to fight them now. At least we need to figure out what they're looking for. This primeval forest was too mysterious. He had once found a dragon crystal and a 5-colored divine stone here. Presumably, other cultivators would also have made great discoveries and found heaven-defying treasures. This wasn't strange at all. Sure enough, not long after, Lin Xian found traces of other cultivators. He even found many scenes of fighting along the way. Obviously, someone had made a move. In front of him, there was blood and several corpses. It seemed that the battle was very fierce. However, those people had already left, and seemed to be rushing forward. What were these people looking for? Even the Crimson Dragon was very curious. Suddenly, Lin Xian frowned and looked behind him to his left. He realized that there was a strange energy fluctuation there. Someone was rushing over at a fast speed. In the next moment, he showed a surprised expression. Because there really was someone rushing over. Not only that, he was very familiar with that person. It was the person he had seen before, Yi Wudao. Yi Wudao was still dressed in white, spotless clothes. His face was handsome, like a god of war. His whole person exuded a majestic vitality. "Brother Long, I didn't expect to see you again so soon." Yi Wudao smiled when he saw Lin Xian. "That's right, Brother Yi. I wonder what these people are looking for." Lin Xian voiced his doubts. "Not long ago, someone found a spiritual old medicine. These people are desperately trying to find traces of the spiritual old medicine." Spiritual old medicine! Hearing this, Lin Xian was shocked. As an alchemist, he knew about this spiritual old medicine. That was because it was an extremely precious spirit medicine. Not only was it extremely old, but it also had spirituality. It could fly in the sky and burrow into the ground to avoid martial artists. It could be said that it was full of spirituality. Its effects were even more terrifying. It could increase a martial artist's power, extend their lifespan, and even bring the dead back to life. It could be said that its effects were extremely miraculous. This was definitely a rare treasure. This kind of psychic old medicine was very rare in the outside world. To think that it actually appeared in this primeval forest. That's right. Unfortunately, the appearance of this psychic medicine is going to cause a rain of blood and a foul wind. If you don't have a special need for the psychic old herb, Brother Long shouldn't get involved in this mess. Leaf Dao Denier said slowly. This was because he knew that Lin Xian was just a rogue cultivator without a sect behind him. It would be very dangerous for him to participate in such a competition. Indeed, many experts had landed in this primeval forest, causing the situation here to become very complicated. Those top sects could be said to be extremely terrifying. Under their combined strength, even a genius martial artist would be defeated. Next, Leaf Dao Denier left. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. He didn't expect that these people would be fighting over the psychic old herb. This was a rare divine medicine that would be very useful to him. How could he not fight for it? Moreover, the cultivation bases of the Almighties who were the greatest threat to him had already been suppressed by the laws of this place. With his heavenly dragon's 8 steps and his extreme speed, he could fight against the major forces. At least, his safety was guaranteed. Then, he and the Crimson Dragon went on their way. The two of them quickly set off to search for the psychic old herb. Not long after, they heard the sound of fighting in front of them. The two of them were delighted, thinking that it must be related to the psychic old herb. Therefore, they sped up. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon landed and found a few corpses in front of them. Moreover, there was an intense battle in front of them. It was a very tall figure, like a demonic beast, emitting an incomparably terrifying aura. With a wave of his arm, countless gusts of wind were created. A terrifying aura filled the entire space. In the distance, Lin Xian's pupils shrank when he saw the figure. He wasn't unfamiliar with this figure. It was the tall youth he met on the beach, Ouyang Feng. The other party was a martial artist from the Four Symbols Sacred Grounds, and his strength was terrifying. Now that he saw him, he was indeed so powerful that it made people tremble. His opponent wasn't weak either. It was a man in a black robe, with a sinister and cold aura around him. With a wave of his hand, a terrifying cold wind blew, and blue ice pierced the bones as it quickly blasted forward. In an instant, the entire forest was frozen. The other party was an ice-type martial artist, and the power of his ice was extremely terrifying. It was as if it could freeze everything in the world. However, The tall demonic beast youth, Ouyang Feng, laughed maniacally. He waved his fist, and a terrifying force smashed into the eyes that filled the sky. Ka ka ka! A terrifying sound rang out, and the eyes that filled the sky instantly cracked and fell to the ground. Not only that, the black-robed youth's body was torn apart by a punch. Blood gushed out, and the scene was terrifying. Seeing this scene, even Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon's hearts beat wildly. They had to admit that the other party's strength was too violent. It was as if he was a human-shaped dragon. The demonic beast youth, Ouyang Feng, sneered disdainfully after dealing with his opponent. However, in the next moment, he suddenly turned his head, and his eyes were as cold as a blade as he stared at Lin Xian. "Who is it? Get out here!" he shouted coldly, and his voice turned into a powerful force that blasted in Lin Xian's direction. Boom! In an instant, the mountain peak in the distance exploded, and Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon appeared in another place in a flash. "What? It's you!" The demonic beast youth, Ouyang Feng, was stunned when he saw Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon. However, his expression soon turned cold. "Kid, what are you doing here? This is not a place where you can come. If you know what's good for you, scram!" Ouyang Feng's nerves were cold as he looked down at Lin Xian. On the other side, a figure also walked out of the forest. It was another youth, the same one who had appeared on the beach. He looked at Lin Xian with disdain. "Kid, you should know your place. You're just a small rogue cultivator. You don't have the qualifications to fight for the treasure. If you didn't know you would be a dead man by now." The two of them had arrogant looks on their faces, and they didn't put Lin Xian in their eyes at all. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes, and a cold smile appeared on his face. The last time he met Lu Mingwei and the others in the valley, he didn't make a move because he didn't know what they were fighting for. Now that he knew that they were fighting for the spirit herb, how could he hold back? Chapter 1741. Treasures are ownerless. Anyone can look for them. If you can look for them, why can't I? Lin Xian sneered. Do you really think you're superior? You want to look for treasures too? Humph, you're overestimating yourself. You're just a rogue cultivator. How dare you compete with us? Looks like you don't know what's good for you. I'll give you one last chance. Get lost. Otherwise, you'll end up in a miserable state. Ouyang Feng snorted with a murderous look in his eyes. Lin Xian's face darkened. Ouyang Feng's attitude annoyed him, so he didn't answer him. He raised his fist and punched at Ouyang Feng. You're courting death! Ouyang Feng was furious. Ouyang Feng dared to attack him. He was courting death. In the next moment, he punched at Ouyang Feng as well. At the same time, a terrifying aura surged from his body and instantly filled the entire space. Boom! Boom! In the next moment, everything around him was smashed apart. It couldn't withstand the aura at all. The surrounding forest was instantly blasted into powder. The mountain peak in the distance also exploded. It turned into countless boulders and rolled to the ground. The terrifying aura made one's scalp tingle. It was a shocking scene. Everything was smashed to pieces. It couldn't withstand the aura at all. Bang! A terrifying fist broke through the air. It carried endless energy and the power of a savage beast as it blasted toward Lin Xian. In the next moment, the terrifying fist shadows collided in the air and made a deafening sound. A terrifying storm tore through the void. Kill! Lin Xian shouted coldly. Sword chi surged from his body and a huge sword ray shot into the sky. What? He's a swordsman! The surrounding warriors exclaimed. Ouyang Feng was also surprised. He didn't expect Lin Xian to be able to block his punch. It was too surprising. There were also warriors watching the battle. When they saw Lin Xian block Ouyang Feng's punch, they gasped. They knew how powerful Ouyang Feng was. In the forest, he had killed many experts with one punch. It could be said that he was an extremely fearful demon king. But now, there was actually someone who could block his attack. It was simply too shocking. Dazzling sword chi swept out in all directions. At this moment, the entire space was filled with violent sword chi, quickly enveloping Ouyang Feng. Humph, it's useless. Ouyang Feng sneered. Fighting with me is the biggest mistake of your life. He roared and threw out a punch. The terrifying fist collided with the sword chi that filled the sky, creating an earth-shattering sound. Clang! Clang! The void trembled and the earth cracked. However, to Ouyang Feng's surprise, the sword chi that filled the sky did not crack. This was something that surprised him greatly. One had to know that his fist was extremely powerful, and it could even blast open the body of a 6-star king. But now, he was actually unable to break through his opponent's sword chi. It had to be said that it was really too shocking. Even Sun Yang, who was watching from the side, was frowning. To be honest, he didn't care about Lin Xian at all before, but he didn't expect that the other party's strength would exceed their expectations. So powerful. For symbols sacred grounds? You're just SOSO. Is this what gives you the right to be arrogant? What a joke! Lin Xian held the 9 darkness demonic sword in his hand and walked forward step by step like a god of death. With every step he took, the aura on his body became more tyrannical. In the end, a sword chi pierced through heaven and earth. It was incomparably sharp, as if it was a heavenly sword. It was terrifying to the extreme. You're courting death. Kid, I'll let you know my true power today. On the other side, Ouyang Feng was furious. As a genius, he had never been looked down upon like this. Therefore, in the next moment, he roared angrily, and the aura on his body suddenly erupted. He waved his fists, and light shone. An immemorial mammoth appeared, letting out a dull roar. That scene was too terrifying. The immemorial mammoth was like a demonic mountain. It was incomparably heavy, and its terrifying roar caused the entire forest to tremble. Then, the immemorial mammoth rushed toward Lin Xian with its fists. Bang! Bang! The void could not withstand this force at all and directly cracked. Lin Xian's expression was extremely solemn. He had to admit that the other party's strength was too terrifying. However, it was impossible for them to defeat him with this amount of power. In the next moment, he snorted coldly, raised his arm, and brandished the 9 darkness demonic sword. The great dragon sword soul within his body circulated. The terrifying sword chi turned into a boundless galaxy, slashing forward. In an instant, the black sword chi that filled the sky enveloped that immemorial mammoth. In the void, a terrifying sound was emitted. The two people's attacks exploded in the air, covering the entire space. Even those martial artists watching the battle and the surroundings had a change in expression, running toward the back like crazy. Because this explosion was seriously too terrifying. If they were swept into it, they would not be able to resist at all. Who is this person? So powerful! He could actually contend with Ouyang Feng. Everyone looked at Lin Xian, extremely shocked. On the other side, Ouyang Feng was shocked again. The fist art that he displayed just now was an ultimate skill of the 4 symbols holy lands. The immemorial mammoth fist could summon the phantom of an immemorial mammoth, and use it to fight. One could say that the power was terrifying to the extreme. Even a 6-star sovereign could not trap it. And the other party's sword chi was actually blocked. This surprised him. Not only that, the swift and fierce aura that the other party's sword chi carried made him have a feeling of palpitating with fear and trepidation. Who is this kid? How can he possibly possess such a sharp sword Dao aura? He seriously could not figure out how an itinerant cultivator could possibly possess such formidable power. The next moment, Ouyang Feng roared angrily and attacked again. Immemorial Mammoth Fist. In the void, the silhouettes of immemorial mammoths appeared once more. But this time, there were 2. The 2 immemorial mammoths stood indomitable, emitting terrifying power from all over their bodies. Countless light rays revolved around them as if these 2 immemorial mammoths could suppress everything in the world. 2 immemorial mammoths? How terrifying! In the distance, the martial artists watching the battle felt their hearts beat wildly. because just this aura alone made them tremble uncontrollably. If facing it head-on, they probably could not withstand a blow at all. This Ouyang Feng is too powerful to actually be able to condense two immemorial mammoths. As far as I know, each additional immemorial mammoth, the power will double. What? Double? You're saying that the power of this punch is double of the previous punch? Heaven, just what kind of fist art is this? Is he still human? After everyone heard this news, their scalps tingled. That punch from before was already extremely terrifying. Now, it even doubled. Just how terrifying would it be? They did not dare to imagine. Most likely it was very hard for anyone to block in the same rank. Opposite, Lin Xian's expression was also solemn. He felt a terrifying aura from the two immemorial mammoth phantoms. That aura was already able to threaten him. Chapter 1742. He didn't dare to be careless. With a wave of his hand, the dragon's sword domain appeared and floated around him. As soon as the dragon's sword domain appeared, a terrifying sword chi shot into the sky. The sharp aura made the entire space unable to withstand it. The surrounding cultivators were even trembling, a hint of fear appearing in their eyes. Heavens, what a terrifying sword Dao domain! Why do I feel that young man is not weaker than Ouyang Feng at all? Yeah, this sword chi is too sharp. I've never seen it before. Who is he? On the opposite side, Ouyang Feng's pupils shrank when he saw Lin Xian's dragon sword domain. Needless to say, the other party's sharp aura made him feel threatened. Therefore, he didn't hesitate and quickly moved out. With a punch, the two immemorial demonic elephants roared and rushed toward Lin Xian. Terrifying power surged, and the earth shook as if there was a huge earthquake. The two immemorial demonic elephants each had destructive power, enough to kill a 6-star king. Now that the two had appeared together, the scene was extremely terrifying. On the opposite side, Lin Xian didn't hesitate. He waved the 9 darkness demonic sword, and the dragon sword domain around him trembled rapidly. Rays of dazzling sword chi crisscrossed and protected him. At the same time, more sword chi slashed forward. Boom! Boom! Lin Xian attacked aggressively. Every ray of sword chi was extremely sharp, as if it could destroy everything. In the end, the sword chi that filled the sky intertwined and formed an azure dragon. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it pounced on the two immemorial demonic elephants. Boom! Boom! The sky collapsed, and a terrifying aura swept in all directions. Humph! At this moment, Ouyang Feng snorted and waved his fist quickly. Demonic elephant sky suppression! He roared, and the two immemorial demonic elephant phantoms roared toward the sky. The light on their bodies soared into the sky, and the two immemorial demonic elephants' bodies continued to grow. They were like two immemorial stone tablets that wanted to suppress the azure dragon. The immemorial demonic elephant was a very powerful demonic beast in ancient times. It was rumored to be a demonic beast that suppressed hell. At this moment, when Ouyang Feng used it, it was extremely terrifying. The two immemorial demonic elephants gradually grew larger and covered the sky, wanting to suppress the azure dragon sword chi. Suppress! Ouyang Feng roared, and the azure dragon sword chi. What? He actually suppressed it. This immemorial demonic elephant is too terrifying. It can even suppress such a sharp sword energy. I'm afraid nothing in this world can stop it. When the surrounding martial artists saw this scene, their scalps went numb. Ouyang Feng sneered. Kid, you're going to lose. You want to fight me with this little bit of strength? The difference is too great. Lin Xian's face darkened as he coldly snorted. In the next moment, the great dragon sword soul within his body began to revolve wildly, causing the void in front of him to tremble violently. Pun! An earth-shattering sound rang out as the two immemorial demonic mammoths in front of him collapsed. Endless sword chi gushed out from below and shot up into the sky. Then, it transformed into an azure dragon that roared at the sky. A terrifying aura swept out in all directions. What? He's out! When everyone saw this scene, their scalps went numb. Originally, they thought that Lin Xian was bound to lose, but they did not expect that in the blink of an eye, the sword Qi Azure Dragon would rush out. It had to be said that it was really too surprising. Even Ouyang Feng's pupils constricted, and his face was full of shock. He did not expect that his two immemorial demonic mammoths would be shattered. What kind of sword Qi was that? How could it be so powerful? You've finished your attack. Next, it's my turn, Lin Xian said coldly. He held the 9 darkness demonic sword in his hand, and in a flash, he arrived on top of the sword Qi Azure Dragon. Then, 1 man and 1 dragon quickly charged forward. Roar! Boom! The terrifying sword Qi tore through the sky and slashed toward Ouyang Feng. Humph! Seeing the shocking sword Qi, Ouyang Feng moved his body and quickly dodged. However, he still underestimated the sword Qi because he could not dodge it at all. Ouyang Feng's face was gloomy as he quickly waved his palm. The light on his body bloomed and instantly formed a huge demonic mammoth's head. It was as if a gate of hell was placed in front of him. Pun! In the next moment, the shocking sword Qi slashed on the black gate formed by the immemorial demonic mammoth, making a loud noise. However, the black gate of hell was too terrifying. It was incomparably hard and was not damaged. In fact, there was not even a crack on it. For a moment, everyone was shocked. Even Lin Xian frowned slightly. He did not expect Ouyang Feng to have such a powerful defensive technique. White Tiger Aura! After blocking Lin Xian's shocking sword Qi, Ouyang Feng roared again. In the next moment, his fist technique changed rapidly, and a terrifying murderous aura gushed out from his body. At this moment, Ouyang Feng was tall and his black hair fluttered in the wind. He really looked like a demonic beast and was extremely terrifying. As his fist moved, a loud and clear whistling sound could be heard. The sound shook the forest and made people's blood boil. A huge white tiger appeared in his palm, roaring and rushing toward Lin Xian. The azure dragon on the left, and the white tiger on the right. The white tiger was in charge of attacking, and its murderous aura was extremely terrifying. As soon as it appeared, it rushed toward Lin Xian in an overwhelming manner, as if it was going to tear him apart. Lin Xian's expression was grave as well. He did not expect Ouyang Feng's random fist technique to be so terrifying. This white tiger phantom before his eyes made all the hairs on his body stand on end. In the next moment, he roared and waved his fist. The apocalyptic black dragon fist surged out violently. The black fist surged and formed a huge black dragon, covering the sky and emitting a terrifying aura. In the surroundings, black lightning fell and pierced through the void. Boom! In a fierce battle, powerful energy swept out in all directions. The entire sky was drowned in an instant and turned into chaos. After blocking Ouyang Feng's white tiger, Lin Xian made another move. With a wave of his hand, a black dragon claw quickly grabbed at Ouyang Feng, as if it was going to tear him in half. Crack, crack, crack. The void split open in an instant. A terrifying crack appeared and spread towards Ouyang Feng at a high speed. Roar! Ouyang Feng roared and his eyes were bloodshot. He waved his fists, and a terrifying energy surged forward. Get lost! White tiger demonic tattoos appeared on his body. It was extremely terrifying. Clang! In a shocking collision, Ouyang Feng dodged Lin Xian's attack. However, he was incomparably shocked. Ouyang Feng was too powerful, so powerful that he could not believe it. On the other side, Lin Xian was also shocked. However, in the next moment, he snorted coldly. He put away the 9 underworld demonic sword. Ouyang Feng, martial artist of the 4 symbols sacred grounds, aren't you proud of your fist techniques? Today, I will defeat you with my fist techniques. What? Hearing this, the crowd was in an uproar. They could not believe it because they already knew that Lin Xian was a swordsman. With his sharp sword Qi, he could contend with Ouyang Feng with his terrifying sword techniques. But now, Ouyang Feng wanted to give up his advantage and use his fist techniques to contend with Ouyang Feng. Was he not courting death? Chapter 1743. Lin Xian wanted to give up his advantage and fight Ouyang Feng with his fists. Wasn't this a suicidal act? One had to know that Ouyang Feng was most proficient in terrifying fist techniques. Ouyang Feng sneered when he heard this. Stupid boy, since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. To be honest, he was going crazy with anger. Since Lin Xian dared to look down on him, he had to kill him here and now. On the other side, Ouyang Feng's companion, Sun Yang, sneered. What an idiot! Instead of using his sword, he dares to fight Ouyang Feng with his fists. It seems that this boy is really dead. Seeing Lin Xian give up his sword and fight with his fists, Ouyang Feng laughed wildly. Then, he waved his fists and used the White Tiger Divine Fist. A terrifying white tiger shadow quickly attacked. Lin Xian also quickly brandished his fist technique. He did not use the apocalyptic Black Dragon Fist. Instead, he used another fist technique. The Five Elements Fist. This fist was a unique skill of the Five Elements sect. Lin Xian naturally did not know how to use it. But he had the Great Dragon Sword Soul. The Great Dragon Sword Soul was an offensive saint technique that could simulate everything. Lin Xian had seen the Five Elements Fist before and could simulate it with the Great Dragon Sword. In an instant, he used the Metal Element Fist of the Five Elements Fist. Golden light shone in the sky. It was terrifying. The Metal Element Fist of the Five Elements Fist was similar to the White Tiger Divine Fist. It specialized in killing and was extremely fierce. Moreover, the fist contained the Great Dragon Sword Soul. When it was used, it was even more terrifying. In the next moment, the terrifying Golden Fist collided with the White Tiger Divine Fist. There were countless collisions in the air. Lin Xian's fist was too violent. The golden light was like a wave, violently slapping in all directions. However, Ouyang Feng was not weak either. The White Tiger Divine Fist was terrifying. The huge white tiger shadow, carrying terrifying energy, collided with the golden light in the sky and tore it apart. In an instant, the two disappeared in the sky. What? What a fierce fist! When the surrounding martial artists saw this scene, they immediately exclaimed in surprise. They thought that since Lin Xian had abandoned his sword, he would definitely be at a disadvantage and might even be defeated in one move. But he didn't expect his opponent's fist technique to be so fierce. That golden light was in no way inferior to sword chi. No wonder he dared to compete with Ouyang Feng in fist techniques. Damn it! How can this kid's fist technique be so powerful? Ouyang Feng's face was also ugly. He did not expect his opponent's fist technique to be so terrifying. It was not any weaker than his White Tiger Divine Fist. It even made his hair stand on end. Damned brat, I don't believe you! Die! Ouyang Feng roared and performed another fist technique. Above his fist, a terrifying light flashed, falling from the sky like a Milky Way. This scene was simply too astonishing. It was as if a true divine river from the 9 heavens was descending from the immortal palace. Lin Xian also snorted coldly and changed his fist technique again. The fist of metal became the fist of water. The boundless sea. The seawater in the sky surged and the entire space seemed to have turned into an ocean. It was densely packed, and every inch of space was filled with the power of the seawater. It was hard to defend against it. Boom! 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 The 7 Milky Ways that Ouyang Feng shot out were instantly drowned. Not only that, but his body also kept retreating. What? When the surrounding people saw this scene, their eyes widened. They couldn't believe that Ouyang Feng was actually pushed back. Moreover, he was pushed back by a fist technique. This was simply too unbelievable. Ouyang Feng's face was also ugly. He couldn't believe that his opponent had actually defeated him in fist techniques. One had to know that he was a genius martial artist from the 4 Symbols Sacred Ground. His strength was terrifying, and it was hard to find a match among those of the same level. Even the older generation figures were no match for him. But now, someone who was obviously younger than him and was a lone cultivator had actually pushed him back. He couldn't accept this. Therefore, in the next moment, he roared and performed his king's domain. This time, he was going to go all out. Otherwise, if he lost to his opponent today, he would not have the face to continue living. Ouyang Feng's king's domain was extremely terrifying. It was formed by the immemorial demonic elephants. It was extremely thick and heavy, as if it could crush the void. In an instant, the immemorial demonic elephant domain enveloped Lin Xian. Suddenly, Lin Xian felt the pressure. It was as if 100,000 mountains were mercilessly pressing down on his head, crushing his body. Lin Xian's eyes exploded with a bright light. He quickly waved his fists. Terrifying power surged out, and the golden light shone even brighter. It covered the sky and covered the earth, rushing towards his opponent's entire domain. At this moment, the golden light on Lin Xian's fists had all turned into golden swords, extremely sharp. Boom! Boom! An intense collision occurred. The golden light violently blasted on the immemorial demonic elephant domain, and the void shook violently. The surrounding martial artists quickly retreated. The ground cracked, and huge cracks appeared, spreading into the distance. In the sky, a golden storm had formed. It was like a golden sun. Boom! In the end, the golden storm exploded and swept out in all directions. Ouyang Feng's face was pale, and he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, his body was on the verge of collapse. Because in this explosion, his king's domain also exploded, causing him to be seriously injured. Ouyang Feng was injured. Seeing this scene, the surrounding martial artists' scalps went numb, and Sun Yang's expression changed greatly. To be honest, he really did not expect things to turn out this way. He did not expect this scene at all. Damn it, impossible! I don't believe it! Ouyang Feng's hair was disheveled, and his face was crazed. He really could not believe that his opponent had defeated him in fist techniques. Damn it, this is the Five Elements fist! Are you from the Five Elements sect? Ouyang Feng asked, gritting his teeth. What? The Five Elements sect? Everyone was shocked. Yes, he is using the Five Elements fist, someone exclaimed. Is he really a martial artist from the Five Elements sect? However, on the other side, Sun Yang frowned. Impossible, we all know people from the Five Elements sect who have such power. But I've never heard of this kid. They were too confused. It doesn't matter which sect I'm from. What's important is that it's all over, Lin Xian said coldly, then waved the earth element fist. Suddenly, the earth surged, and two large yellow hands appeared, grabbing at Ouyang Feng. At the same time, a huge mountain fell from the sky. Boom! In an instant, the sky was crushed. Ouyang Feng used his movement technique and disappeared from the spot. With a boom, the void cracked, forming a large black rift valley, pierced by the huge mountain. At the same time, a wave fell from the sky. A terrifying force rushed out, affecting the entire space, causing a tsunami to occur in the entire forest. The surroundings collapsed. This was the water element fist. At this moment, it was extremely terrifying. Chapter 1744. At the same time, there was a wave that fell from the sky. A terrifying force rushed out and affected the entire space, causing a tsunami to occur in the entire forest. Everything around them collapsed. It was the water element fist. It was extremely terrifying. On the side, Sun Yang pulled Ouyang Feng and the two of them quickly retreated. That was because the current Lin Xian was simply too powerful. They simply couldn't withstand him. Ouyang Feng's face was gloomy, but he also retreated with them. Because he couldn't figure out Lin Xian's true identity at all. Why did he use the five-element fist? And the power was terrifying? You want to leave? Lin Xian snorted and waved his fist again. Suddenly, boundless waves swept out and surrounded the surroundings. You're courting death! Get lost! Ouyang Feng was furious. He did not expect that the other party would not let them leave. It was too much. In the next moment, he summoned two immemorial demonic elephants again and rushed out. The terrifying demonic elephant shadows roared in the void palace and crushed the surroundings. On the other side, Sun Yang pulled out a large black flag from the void and kept spinning it. Suddenly, boundless black light surged like a black ocean, pressing down from the sky. In the next moment, it collided with Lin Xian's water element fist, causing a huge explosion. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the two of them quickly retreated like lightning. "Kid, I'll remember what happened today. The next time we meet, I'll wash away today's humiliation." Ouyang Feng's voice came from afar. Lin Xian's eyes were like lightning and his expression was cold, but he did not pursue. Because he knew that it was easy to defeat the other party, but it would be difficult to kill him now. However, he thought that from now on, the other party would not dare to be presumptuous in front of him. The surrounding people felt their scalps go numb. They looked at Lin Xian with fear. They did not expect the nameless young man in front of them to be so terrifying. Even Ouyang Feng was no match for him. Soon, everyone retreated and did not dare to stay there. They were afraid of being targeted by Lin Xian. After everyone left, Lin Xian used the art of longevity to quickly heal the wounds on his body and the spirit energy he had consumed. The spirit qi in the surroundings surged towards him, causing his body to glow. It didn't take long for him to recover. One day later, he learned from other warriors that after Ouyang Feng and Sun Yang had left that day, someone had attacked them. The two of them engaged in an earth-shattering battle before finally leaving. This greatly shocked Lin Xian. It seemed that other than him, there were other experts hidden in this forest. More and more geniuses arrived at the woods. However, he was not afraid. Instead, the blood in his body surged, and his eyes were full of fighting spirit. Because he was very confident in himself. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon continued their journey. Not long after, the two of them frowned. The reason for that was because they discovered a huge footprint in front of them. Furthermore, the footprints belonged to a human. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon looked at each other and saw the seriousness in each other's eyes. The Crimson Dragon's eyes flickered as he said in a deep voice, "Look at the footprints. Could it be the legendary giant clan? The giant clan? They actually exist in this forest." Lin Xian's expression was also solemn. Then, the two of them continued to walk forward. Gradually, Lin Xian and the others discovered that something was amiss. Because they discovered that the forest was too quiet. There was not the slightest sound. One had to know that this was too eerie. This was a primeval forest with countless beasts around. There would definitely be sounds of beasts roaring. But now, there was no sound at all. It was as if all the beasts had disappeared. The Crimson Dragon shrunk his neck. "Kid, this place is a little strange. Let's be careful." Lin Xian was also a little scared. This scene was too terrifying. The two of them walked carefully. After an hour, the surrounding forest gradually opened up. It was no longer a dense forest, but a sparse one. There were even large open spaces in some places. What shocked the two of them even more was that there were huge footprints left on the ground. Obviously, this should be the living area of the giants. Bang! 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 Suddenly, the ground began to tremble as if there was an earthquake. Then, a huge figure appeared in front of Lin Xian. Lin Xian sucked in a breath of cold air when he saw the figure. It was indeed a giant. It was dozens of meters tall, and it walked like a dragon or a tiger. It was full of power. The young man who looked like a demonic beast, Ouyang Feng, was like a baby in front of this giant. Not only that, the giant was holding a huge mountain-splitting axe in one hand, and an extremely terrifying demon wolf in the other. However, at this moment, it was already torn into pieces. That demon wolf was at least at the demon king level. These giants were actually feeding on demon kings. One had to admit that it was too terrifying. Not only that, Lin Xian's face became gloomy in the next moment. That was because he discovered that two more giants had appeared behind the giant. At the same time, there was a figure standing on the shoulder of one of the giants. He was no stranger to that figure. It was the demoness of the Demon King Palace, Zhao Tianxie. "Damn it, why is this woman with these giants?" Lin Xian frowned. He felt very uneasy after letting her escape last time. He didn't expect her to find these giants. Damn it, this woman must be eliminated! Lin Xian frowned. He discovered that the other party was too mysterious. She could constantly summon powerful companions. Humph! Zhao Tianxia, who was on the giant in front, also had a sharp gaze. She discovered Lin Xian's existence very quickly. Then, a cold smile appeared on her beautiful face. Capture the two of them. I want them alive! Zhao Tianxia pointed into the distance and issued an order. Roar! Suddenly, the two giants around her let out angry roars. The sound was extremely terrifying. It was like a clap of thunder, shattering the surrounding clouds. Not only that, the two huge bodies also began to move. The entire ground shook violently. What the hell? This woman is crazy! The Crimson Dragon screamed. He didn't expect her to be able to command these giants. This was simply too unbelievable. Lin Xian's face also darkened. He couldn't understand how she did it. However, he knew that he was in great danger now. The next moment, he shouted coldly. His body swayed quickly as he retreated. However, at this moment, huge figures appeared behind them, ready to block them. In an instant, 4 giants stood in all directions, trying to capture them. That huge body was like an ancient demonic mountain, standing tall in the surroundings, blocking all paths of retreat. Chapter 1745. The 4 giants were like an iron wall, blocking Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon. As for Zhao Tianxia, he was pushing the other giant to the front. Brat, I bet you didn't expect this day to come. How dare you treat me so rudely before? That's unforgivable. But don't worry. As long as you obediently become my cauldron, I'll let you live. Otherwise, you'll be smashed into a bloody mist by these giants. Humph! Lin Xian snorted. Become their cauldron? How could he live? The other party was obviously trying to suck him dry. Do you think you can stop me with just 4 giants? What a joke! Lin Xian said coldly. Then, he turned around and shot up into the sky like a bolt of lightning. Boom! The Crimson Dragon also turned into a red bolt of lightning and flew to the side. Trying to escape? Zhao Tianxia snorted and then urged one of the giants to attack. Boom! A huge palm covered the sky and pounced toward Lin Xian. The length of the palm was too terrifying. Even a 6-star king would not be able to survive if he was hit. However, Lin Xian was different. He had the extreme speed of the heavenly dragon's 8 steps. Therefore, at the critical moment, his body moved horizontally. He quickly dodged the shocking attack. Boom! The palm hit the air and the void cracked. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon shot up into the sky and left the encirclement. Then, the two turned into lightning and quickly moved into the distance. Chase after them! Zhao Tianxia shouted. She did not expect the other party to be able to escape her encirclement. However, so what if the other party could escape temporarily? With the help of these giants, she could definitely catch the other party. The next moment, these giants began to run. They were like small mountains, moving quickly. Although these giants were huge, they were not slow at all. They covered more than 100 feet in a single step. Their speed was shocking. Not only that, wherever they passed, the forest collapsed and the ground cracked. It was a terrifying sight. This kind of vibration finally attracted the attention of other martial artists. Many figures gathered over here. When they saw those enormous and terrifying giants, their scalps went numb, and a trace of fear appeared in their eyes. Heavens, what is this? F***CK. It is a giant! There are giants in this forest! Cries of surprise rang out one after another. However, when they saw Zhao Tianxia on the giant's shoulder, they were even more shocked. Isn't that woman Zhao Tianxia from the Demon Imperial Palace? She's actually with these giants. This is unbelievable. As a top force, the Fey Imperial Palace is incomparably mysterious. This Zhao Tianxia is a genius of the Fey Imperial Palace. He must have a secret technique that allows him to communicate with these giants. Some experts guessed the secret. But in any case, Zhao Tianxia's ability to control the giant was truly shocking. This was especially true for the martial artists from the major forces. Each and every one of them wore solemn expressions. One had to know that the Almighty's cultivation levels were suppressed in this area, and they could no longer unleash their peak combat strength. However, it did not affect the relationship between the various major powers, because all the Almighties were suppressed. But now, Zhao Tianxia was actually able to control the terrifying giants. This undoubtedly increased the power of the Fei Imperial Palace. For a moment, everyone was worried. They were even secretly wondering if they could withstand the attacks of the giants. However, at this moment, someone exclaimed, "Look, these giants seem to be chasing someone." Hearing this, everyone quickly looked over. Sure enough, they saw two figures running quickly in front of them. What? It's him! Many people saw Lin Xian's figure and were immediately shocked. Who is this kid? Some of them did not know. Thus, someone told them about the battle between Lin Xian and Ouyang Feng. Immediately, the surrounding martial artists gasped. They had heard of Ouyang Feng's strength. He was a humanoid demonic beast with infinite strength. He was extremely terrifying. However, the youth in front of them was actually able to defeat Ouyang Feng. It was simply too shocking. Needless to say, he was definitely an extremely powerful existence. The news of Zhao Tianxia controlling the giants to chase after Lin Xian quickly spread. More and more martial artists gathered. On the other side, Lin Xian's figure was like lightning as he and the Crimson Dragon shuttled quickly. At this moment, one of the giants roared and grabbed a mountain peak. It viciously smashed towards Lin Xian. This scene was simply too shocking. A mountain peak that was hundreds of feet tall was directly uprooted from the ground. One could imagine how terrifying these giants were. Boom! The huge mountain peak fell, forcing Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon to change direction. However, this change in direction caused the other two giants to catch up and surround them again. Bang! A huge palm with astonishing power slammed down viciously. The other giant raised its foot and quickly stomped towards Lin Xian. Whoosh! 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 Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon used the Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps. Their speed was extremely fast as they constantly dodged. Finally, they narrowly avoided the attacks of these giants. The ground cracked open. It was incomparably terrifying. The surrounding forest collapsed once again. At this moment, another giant rushed over and uprooted another mountain peak, sweeping it towards Lin Xian. Terrifying shockwaves rolled, and the void trembled. This attack was extremely terrifying. As for Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon, their speed was extremely fast and they instantly disappeared before everyone's eyes. Damn it! Seeing that the other party had completely disappeared from sight, Zhao Tianxia was driven mad. She did not expect that the other party's speed would be so fast that even the giants could not catch up. The surrounding people felt their scalps go numb, their expressions horrified. The power displayed by these giants was simply too terrifying. Ordinary kings would not be able to withstand a single blow from them. Even those powerful demon kings would not be able to contend against these giants. For a moment, everyone looked at Zhao Tianxia with terrified expressions. However, they were also extremely shocked by Lin Xian's speed. The other party's speed was simply too fast. They could not keep up. It could be said that both Lin Xian and Zhao Tianxia were existences that made people tremble. On the other side, Lin Xian completely avoided the attacks of these giants and entered the forest. After completely escaping from the pursuit of the giants, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon arrived at a safe place. F***CK. That woman is too despicable. She can actually control the giants. The Crimson Dragon's face darkened as he gritted his teeth. This time, it was fortunate that they had the Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps. Otherwise, they would not have been able to escape. Lin Xian's expression was also grave. He had to think of a way to get rid of these giants. Otherwise, their threat would be too great. Then what should we do to get rid of these giants? The Crimson Dragon's eyes flickered as he pondered. Chapter 1746. Those giants were extremely terrifying. Each of them was no weaker than a 6-star king. They might be able to fight one-on-one. However, if 5 giants attacked together, they would not be able to defeat them at all. It seemed that the best way was to find some powerful beasts to fight against these giants. Lin Xian said in a deep voice. Let's think of a way. Can we make these giants fight with the beasts? Then, we can reap the benefits. That's a good idea. The Crimson Dragon's eyes were also shining. In the next few days, the two began to run around, looking for powerful monster kings. The 6-armed ape was one. Other than that, they also found a terrifying 3-headed lion. There was also a huge green-winged exotic beast. It was a terrifying beast. These monster kings were too powerful. Lin Xian could not subdue them at all. What he needed to do was to interfere with these monster kings. For example, he could use the 5-colored immortal stone as bait for the 6-armed ape. The green-winged exotic beast could steal its eggs and make it go berserk. As for the 3-headed lion, he needed the 10,000 bee sting and his heavenly secret super ability to cast an illusion. Since he had found a way, Lin Xian was ready to return to the giants to investigate the situation. However, before that, he, the Snow-White Monkey, and the Crimson Dragon stole the green-winged exotic beast's eggs and lured it to the giant valley. At the same time, he used all his strength to drive the 10,000 bee sting to lure the 3-headed lion over. Then, he asked the Crimson Dragon to control the 10,000 bee sting and set up a few formations to hide the 3 powerful monster kings. He would wait until he had a thorough understanding of the giant valley before making his move. Soon, he came to the empty valley again. Even from afar, he could sense the terrifying aura emitted by those giants. However, this time, Lin Xian was more cautious than last time. He restrained his aura and looked like a ghost. No one noticed this process. However, the giant valley this time was a little different from before. The original giant valley was abnormally quiet. There was no movement at all. However, it was a little lively now. This was because there were many warriors in the giant valley. It seemed that he was not the only one who had designs on the giant valley. However, the others did not dare to be as bold as him and directly start a war with the giant. Those people were probably here to seek refuge with Zhao Tianxie. After all, the giants were too terrifying. If they could borrow the power of the giants, they would be able to obtain heaven-defying benefits. Plus, there was Zhao Tianxie in the giant valley. It would be a great fortune to be able to take in such a beauty. Therefore, for a time, many martial artists flocked over. Zhao Tianxie didn't reject anyone who was willing to join him. From the looks of it, she wanted to create a powerful force in this forest. The current situation in the Tilted Moon Profound World was very subtle. As for how long it would take for the Profound World to open again, no one knew. As for those who entered the Profound World, most of them were unable to pass through the Sea of Death and reach this land. Those who could come here were all elites. Under normal circumstances, the disciples of the major powers would not be worried at all. That was because they had sect elders and mighty figures following them. However, now that the cultivation of the mighty figures was suppressed, their safety was not guaranteed. Therefore, these people secretly began to form an alliance. Zhao Tianxie was no exception. Now that she had the giants, her strength had greatly increased. Naturally, she was the first to form an alliance in a high-profile manner. She believed that with the help of these giants and her charm techniques, she would be able to create a powerful force in this forest. When that time came, all the treasures in this forest would belong to her. This woman's ambition was not small at all. Lin Xian snorted coldly and looked around again. However, his face soon darkened. The reason for that was because he discovered that there was an enormous stele before the ravine. There were a few lines of words written on it. It meant that anyone who provided the whereabouts of Lin Xian would be rewarded handsomely. If he could capture him personally, Zhao Tianxie would spend the night with that martial artist. On the side, there was a portrait of Lin Xian. This news directly provoked the martial artists near the valley. Everyone's eyes were red. They could not wait to capture Lin Xian immediately. They had no choice. Spending a night with Zhao Tianxia, they would be willing to die immediately even if they had to. Lin Xian's face was gloomy. He did not expect the other party to come up with such a plan. It seemed that he had to deal with the giant valley first. Sure enough, once the news came out, more martial artists gathered in the valley, wanting to join Zhao Tianxia's organization. Of course, not everyone would come. Some powerful sect disciples would not form an alliance with others. Instead, they would form their own small groups. Some even wanted to make a move on Zhao Tianxia. Because compared to Lin Xian, Zhao Tianxia's threat was too great. If she succeeded in forming an alliance, it would be difficult for others to resist. Sure enough, on the other side of the valley, Lu Mingwei was wearing a blue dress and was as beautiful as a fairy. However, at this moment, her expression was extremely solemn. Her eyes flickered as she looked into the distance. This Zhao Tianxia is really something. I didn't expect him to be able to gather such a huge force in such a short time. Humph, he's just borrowing the power of the giants. On the side, the pale young man's expression was cold. However, at this moment, Lu Mingwei spoke again. I didn't expect Long Xian's strength to exceed our expectations. Indeed, that kid was able to defeat Ouyang Feng. I have to say, it's really surprising. I suspect that his surname is not Long at all. He's very likely the Lin Xian wanted by the Alcate Sacred Land. Lu Mingyue's eyes flickered. You're saying that he's the Danzong traitor? This time, the pale young man, Yan Qing, was also shocked. If that's the case, then it makes sense. That kid was able to escape the Alcate Sacred Land's pursuit. He's probably not an ordinary person. I just didn't expect him to appear here. Don't worry, we don't need to do anything. Zhao Tianxia alone will make it difficult for Lin Xian to escape. Even if he escapes, the Alcate Sacred Land will definitely not let him go. Haha, does that mean he's dead for sure? Yan Qing sneered. Of course. Lu Mingwei nodded slightly, then said, What about Ouyang Feng? Has he recovered? His injuries have already healed. I'm afraid he's already heading to the Giant Valley. What, he's really going there? Lu Mingwei was also surprised. Could he really subdue the giants? I don't know, but as a warrior of the Four Symbols Sacred Land, Ouyang Feng has a trace of the giant's bloodline in his body. As for whether he can succeed or not, that's not certain. At this point, Yan Qing's expression became extremely solemn. Chapter 1747. After observing for a long time, Lin Xian decided to make a move. He turned into a ghost and flew into the valley. Soon, he arrived at the giant valley. Wuji the snow-white monkey also jumped out. In the depths of the valley, the aura was heavy as if there were countless huge creatures, causing the entire void to freeze. Fortunately, Lin Xian was powerful and had the great dragon sword soul in his body, so he was not afraid of this aura. This allowed him to move quickly. Lin Xian and the rest did not go to the center, but started to explore the surroundings. He had to figure out how many giants there were, and how many warriors there were. He also had to take a look at the number of warriors. However, at this moment, the snow-white monkey was very excited. It turned into a ray of white light and rushed forward. Little White, come back quickly! Lin Xian transmitted his voice, afraid that Little White would attract the attention of others. At the same time, he also used the Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps. Swoosh swoosh! The snow-white monkey landed, and Lin Xian quickly approached it. Wuji the snow-white monkey bared its teeth and pointed at a place in front. It turned out that the ground in front was full of potholes, but in one of the potholes, there was a ray of light. Not only that, but there was also a wave of pure energy accompanying it. This is... Lin Xian was shocked. He and the snow-white monkey quickly walked forward. Such pure energy! Lin Xian looked at the pool of liquid on the ground in shock. Little White quickly spat out the 5-colored divine stone to let it absorb the energy in the liquid. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 5-colored divine stone jumped and absorbed the energy quickly. It was like a heart, emitting a 5-colored ray of light. As if it felt that it was not enough, Little White lowered its head and drank a mouthful. Immediately it showed a satisfied smile. Its big eyes narrowed into the shape of a crescent moon. Lin Xian also took a little and tasted it. He was shocked. This energy is comparable to a divine crystal. Could it be a divine crystal liquid? Lin Xian guessed that the liquid was most likely a divine crystal. It was just that it had not formed into a crystal. He did not expect such a treasure to be here. It seemed that he had made the right choice this time. The 5-colored divine stone was very mysterious as it quickly absorbed the divine crystal liquid. Soon, he finished absorbing the energy. Lin Xian could clearly feel that the 5-colored divine stone had become incomparably resplendent and filled with energy. It seemed that he only needed to go back and absorb the energy in the 5-colored divine stone again. Lin Xian was overjoyed. He searched again and found some more nerve fluid. He also let the 5-colored divine stone absorb all of it. Then, he placed the breeze exotic beast's egg in the valley. At the same time, he and the little white monkey quickly left to meet up with the Crimson Dragon. The Crimson Dragon removed the formation and used 10,000 bee sting to disturb the 3-headed lion. The first to go berserk was the breeze beast. It immediately sensed that its egg was in the valley ahead. Thus, he roared and flew over. Next was the 3-headed lion. Under the interference of the 10,000 bee sting, it charged forward like a madman. The 6-armed divine ape was controlled by Lin Xian. Lin Xian took the 5-colored divine stone and flew toward the valley ahead. The 6-armed divine ape felt the energy of the 5-colored divine stone, and its eyes turned red. In the next moment, it roared and waved its 6 arms, roaring toward the valley ahead. Boom! Boom! In an instant, the entire valley shook violently. Countless mountains collapsed and huge rocks rolled down. Who dares to trespass into the giant valley? Do you want to die? Soon, a figure flew up from the valley and shouted coldly. He was a warrior who had just joined the giant valley. Now that he knew something was wrong outside, he naturally came to check it out. However, in the next moment, his scalp went numb and he looked terrified. That was because he realized that there were 3 huge creatures rushing toward the valley. They were 3 terrifying demonic beasts with monstrous demonic auras. They were not any weaker than the giants. Seeing this, the warrior's scalp went numb. He turned around and ran into the valley. However, in the next moment, a green light lit up. Then, a huge wind blade cut him in half. The breeze beast roared and was the first to rush into the valley. Behind him, the 3-headed lion and the 6-armed divine ape also rushed into the valley. Lin Xian used the heavenly dragon's 8 steps and quickly left the valley to meet up with the Crimson Dragon and the others. Then, they looked into the distance. The valley in front of them exploded in an instant. The terrifying aura formed a huge pillar of light that shot up into the sky. Terrifying roars could be heard. Like thunder, they resounded through the entire forest. Countless warriors soared into the sky, trying to escape. In short, it was a mess. Let's go! Lin Xian looked at the scene and felt his scalp go numb. He did not dare to enter the valley now. It had become a forbidden land. Therefore, in the next moment, he, the Crimson Dragon, and the little white monkey quickly left. It was a restless night because a huge battle had broken out in the valley. 5 giants and 3 incomparably powerful demon kings started fighting. The momentum was extremely terrifying. It affected more than half of the forest. Even the warriors in the distance rushed over to watch the battle. They did not expect that someone would dare to attack the giant valley. It was too shocking. One had to know that a few days ago, the strength of the 5 giants was too terrifying. No one could fight against them. However, they did not expect that just a few days later, someone would attack. They even successfully attracted the attention of the 3 monster kings. The battle was terrifying. It lasted for an entire night. The 3 monster kings did not leave until the next morning. As for the consequences, they were also extremely terrifying. The entire valley was razed to the ground. Not only that, all the surrounding forest was destroyed. More than half of the warriors who had joined the giant valley were killed in the battle. The remaining ones were also injured, and their expressions were incomparably ugly. Of the 5 giants, 1 was killed, 2 were seriously injured, and the other 2 were lightly injured. It could be said that it was a disastrous battle. The 3 monster kings also retreated with serious injuries. In an instant, the news of the giant valley swept through the entire forest like a gust of wind. Zhao Tianxia's face was gloomy. She was about to go crazy. Previously, with the strength of the 5 giants, she was able to quickly gather a large group of warriors and establish a powerful force. However, she did not expect the giant valley to be destroyed in just a few days. Not only that, but one of the giants was killed. The others were also injured and their strength was greatly reduced. More than half of the warriors that she had gathered were also injured. It could be said that the heavy losses this time made her lose face. Needless to say, she was now the laughingstock of the entire forest. She didn't even see clearly who did it. However, according to her guess, it was most likely her enemy, Lin Xian. On the other side, Ouyang Feng was also angry. He was injured and quickly left. Chapter 1748. Previously, he had sneaked into the giant valley and communicated with one of the giants. He had almost convinced the other party. However, he did not expect that such a battle would occur. Therefore, not only did he fail to communicate, but he was also injured in the battle. This battle was like a storm that swept through the surroundings. Everyone was guessing who was the one who did it. For a moment, everyone was in danger. Lin Xian, who was the one who did it, found a cave and chose to go into seclusion. The outside world was in chaos, and Lin Xian and the other 2 were hiding in a safe place, absorbing the energy in the 5-colored divine stone to increase their cultivation. The 5-colored divine stone was extremely mysterious. Ever since it absorbed the energy of the divine crystal liquid, it was filled with a pure aura. On it, the 5-colored light turned into pure energy for Lin Xian and the others to absorb. Lin Xian activated the art of longevity and continuously absorbed the 5-colored energy, transforming it into his own power. Finally, when the 5-colored divine stone became dim again, Lin Xian stopped absorbing. Then, he opened his eyes and felt that his cultivation had increased by a lot. It was as if he had absorbed a divine crystal. Looking at the time, Lin Xian felt that the commotion outside was about to end. It was time to go out and take a look. Therefore, he and the Crimson Dragon went out carefully. As expected, the news of the battle in the giant valley a few days ago gradually died down. However, the atmosphere in the primeval forest all day long had become tense. That was because someone had found a psychic old herb. The previous battle was because of an old herb of the same age. However, that kind of thing was very difficult to find. Everyone had searched for so many days, but they could not find it. However, they did not expect that someone would find it again this time. It was a purple divine medicine that shone brightly. Its entire body was glowing and its shape was like a dragon horse. It was full of spirituality. Its strength was even extremely powerful. That was because this psychic old herb was considered a plant-type monster. In addition to having powerful magical effects, it could also cultivate. In fact, some could even cultivate to an extremely terrifying level. Rumor had it that the great emperor would have an immortal herb by his side. That kind of immortal herb was extremely heaven-defying and could allow the great emperor to live a second life. Not only that, but those immortal herbs were even more terrifying, and they could even kill saints. While the spirit channeling old herb before him couldn't compare to the immortal herb by the emperor's side, it was still a terrifying existence. The first psychic medicine that looked like a dragon horse was discovered by Lu Mingwei and the others. Lu Mingwei and the others had been searching for traces of the Tonglin old medicine all along, and were finally discovered by them. However, they underestimated the strength of the spiritual old medicine. Therefore, due to his carelessness, he actually allowed the dragon horse psychic medicine to escape. After this, Lu Mingyue was extremely vexed because she was the one who was most likely to be the first to obtain the psychic old medicine. However, he missed this opportunity. However, the others were incomparably excited. After searching for so long, he finally found the psychic old herb again. To them, this was undoubtedly an extremely exciting piece of news. As a result, many people once again began to search wantonly. However, after so many days had passed, no one had found the spirit-communicating old herb. It was as if the spirit-communicating old herb in the shape of a dragon horse had evaporated into thin air. Everyone was speculating about the whereabouts of the psychic old herb. Some people said that it hid in a valley, some people said that it escaped underground and disappeared. There were also people who said that it left this place and went to the depths of the forest. There was even a rumor that this kind of psychic old herb had an incomparably powerful demon king guarding it. All in all, for a time, these psychic old herbs were rumored to be incomparably mysterious. This stimulated everyone even more. In fact, battles broke out from time to time during the search. In the end, the psychic old herb was not found, but many martial artists had already lost their lives in this battle. In fact, even Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon also began to search for the psychic old herb. After searching for a few days, they did not gain anything. But very soon, another matter attracted the attention of Lin Xian and the others. Not only Lin Xian, but even all the martial artists in the entire forest were alarmed. Because the Black Sea in the distance suddenly bloomed with black light, covering the sky and covering the earth as if it was the netherworld. Following that, one mysterious Tao pattern after another appeared, carrying a mysterious aura. Following that, a deep voice sounded. "Ignorant outsider, you shall be buried on this island forever." The voice was very deep and extremely old. "Seal!" In the next moment, those Tao patterns quickly intertwined and combined to form a powerful seal, completely sealing the entire sea. "What's going on? What are those seals? Who's talking? Get out here!" Angry roars sounded one after another. Obviously, everyone was stunned by this scene. "Natives, damn it, it's actually the natives!" It was unknown who shouted, but it instantly caused boundless panic. Naturally, they knew about the existence of the natives. Previously, in the Sea of Death, they had been attacked, and most of the martial artists had died there. However, so many days had passed, and the natives did not attack again, so they had forgotten about this matter. They thought that there were probably only a few natives in this space, and that they would not be a threat to them at all. But now, they did not expect the natives to appear again. Not only that, but they even sealed the sea directly. "Humph! Who are you trying to scare? Do you think you can seal it just because you said so?" An old man did not believe it. In the next moment, his body emitted a resplendent light. Like a sharp sword light, he soared into the sky and flew towards the Sea of Death in the distance. This old man was not an ordinary person. He was a mighty figure. Although his cultivation was suppressed, his combat strength far exceeded that of a six-star king. At this moment, his figure swayed and rushed towards the Sea of Death, attracting everyone's attention. Everyone held their breaths, wanting to see if the sea was really sealed as the natives said. Or could the mighty figure break the seal? This concerned their safety and their future. In front of them, the mighty figure old man's figure was like lightning, and he soon arrived at the sea. "What seal? Watch me break it!" he roared and struck out with both palms. Two terrifying palms erupted with shocking light that swept across the world. The terrifying energy directly pierced through the sea. This palm was too terrifying. It could easily kill a six-star king. However, when the terrifying palm struck the seal, it did not cause any waves at all. Not only that, but the seal was also affected, and it flickered with a strange light. Then, it formed a terrifying bolt of lightning that instantly pierced through the mighty figure. Poof! The mighty figure old man's body fell into the sea, and his blood dyed it red. What? He was killed! Everyone's scalps went numb when they saw this scene. Chapter 1749. That was an almighty. Among them, he was an absolutely terrifying existence. But now, he had been killed. It had to be said that this was really too shocking. What kind of seal is that? It's so terrifying. It can even kill an almighty so easily. Doesn't this mean that we'll have to stay in this primitive forest for the rest of our lives? No! Voices of despair rang out. It was obvious that everyone had suffered a severe blow. As genius warriors and elites of the top factions, they had come here to look for opportunities. But they had not expected such a terrifying thing to happen. They had been sealed here and could not return. This was a form of despair for them. They were not the only ones. The other warriors, elders, and almighties all had ugly expressions on their faces. They had never expected such a thing to happen. The top factions were even more solemn. Because there were a few very powerful people who had come this time. For example, the Alcade Sage and Yi Wudao had frightening statuses. If they died here, the Alcade Sacred Land and Yi family would probably go berserk. Especially the Yi family. As a clan of the ancients, their anger would probably burn the entire eastern wilderness. Lin Xian was also very surprised. He had not expected such a thing to happen. The Crimson Dragon's expression was also solemn. He said, "Kid, be careful. I'm afraid there will be a big riot in this primitive forest soon. There's no way back now. There will definitely be a riot here and a new order will be established. Also, those peerless powerhouses need enough energy to cultivate. Because only by breaking through to become a super almighty could they open the seal and return." Hearing this, Lin Xian fell silent. He knew that the Crimson Dragon was right. The primitive forest would probably usher in an era of darkness. And if he wanted to survive such chaos, he had to be strong enough. Otherwise, even if he survived, he would become someone's slave. Lin Xian's eyes flashed. Without any hesitation, his body flashed, and he quickly flew into the distance. He wanted to find enough dragon crystals and divine crystals to strengthen himself. Sure enough, as expected, the entire primitive forest began to riot in the next few days. Those who held grudges and those who were greedy attacked without regard for anything else. Because he was already in despair, and had nothing to worry about. Some martial artists' enemies were disciples of holy lands. Before this, they didn't dare to make a move. Even if they were stronger than others, they didn't dare. This was because if they killed a disciple of the Holy Land, they would definitely be hunted down by the Holy Land. But now, these worries were completely gone. Because no one knew if they would be able to leave this place in their lifetime, those people decided to act decisively. There were also some who were greedy for energy, martial arts, and beauties. In short, intense battles broke out in the entire primeval forest. No one was spared. Among them, there were a few who were very powerful. The first was Zhao Tianxia. She had the giant, and could be said to be very powerful. She also had many martial artists gathered around her. It was the first powerful force to be organized. The other was Lu Mingwei. She was a genius of the All Beginnings Holy Land. Not only was she powerful, but she was also extremely beautiful. Thus, she had gathered a group of followers. The other was the Alcade Saint. The Yaoguang Saint Sun's strength was even more terrifying. Moreover, there were many people from the Yaoguang Holy Land. Therefore, under his prestige, he quickly established a huge force. There was almost no one who could contend with the Alcade Saint Sun. Of course, Yi Wudao was an exception. The average person didn't know Yi Wudao's identity. But those who knew Yi Wudao's identity didn't dare to underestimate him. Even the Alcade Saint Sun would go all out against Yi Wudao. That was because Yi Wudao's identity was too terrifying. Apart from these people, there were also other allied organizations, large and small groups. In short, the entire primeval forest was extremely chaotic. But after a few days, the battles gradually calmed down. That was because excessive killing was useless. They had to think carefully about what to do next. On the other side, Lin Xian was cultivating in stealth. Although he hadn't found any dragon crystals or divine crystals, Lin Xian didn't lack the energy to cultivate with the five-colored divine stone in his hand. The five-colored divine stone could absorb the world's spiritual energy and transform it into five-colored energy. Moreover, the energy it transformed into was extremely pure. It wasn't inferior to dragon crystals or divine crystals. Thus, Lin Xian's cultivation and strength were constantly increasing. However, he didn't keep cultivating. After calculating the time, he felt that the battle outside was almost over. Moreover, he also wanted to know what changes had happened in the primeval forest. He decided to go out and take a look. Sure enough, not long after Lin Xian went out, he received news of what had happened in the past few days. Just as he expected, after he left, a great battle broke out in the forest. Then, the battle was extinguished. What followed was the combination of various groups and forces. Even the Alcade Saint, Zhao Tianxia, and the others took the lead to set the rules in the forest. There was no other way. The Alcade Saint and the others were too strong. Their strength was incomparably powerful. If they joined forces, the other small groups wouldn't dare to resist. However, these small groups weren't to be trifled with. That was because the warriors who could come to this primeval forest were all elite warriors. Although these small groups were weak, they knew how to work together to resist. For a time, the Alcade Saint and the others couldn't do anything to these small groups. Therefore, under such circumstances, they set the rules that belonged to this primeval forest. After Lin Xian heard these rules, he immediately smiled. Because one of the rules was that they couldn't fight casually. This was to prevent powerhouses from forcibly killing the weak. However, this forest had never been afraid of fighting. If they wanted to fight, they had to be witnessed by others. In other words, assassinations and rude attacks were avoided. After hearing this news, Lin Xian was overjoyed. He was still worried that those people from Scorpio would attack him crazily. Now, it seemed that there shouldn't be a big problem. Therefore, he directly swaggered out. Sure enough, many warriors immediately exclaimed when they saw Lin Xian. They were no stranger to Lin Xian because Lin Xian had defeated Ouyang Feng before and was even chased by Giant. In the past few days, Lin Xian hadn't shown up. They thought that Lin Xian had died in the dark riot. However, they didn't expect him to appear again. Immediately, a few organizations came out and threw an olive branch to Lin Xian, inviting him to join. They even offered generous conditions, including beautiful women, energy, and cultivation methods. Chapter 1750. Suddenly, several organizations came out and extended an olive branch to Lin Xian, inviting him to join. They even offered generous conditions, including beautiful women, energy, and cultivation methods. However, Lin Xian rejected all of them. He did not want to join any organization or alliance because it would limit him. Moreover, with his and the Crimson Dragon's means, it was enough for them to be like fish in water in this forest. However, it did not take long for the news of Lin Xian's return to the forest to spread. When Zhao Tianxia and the others heard the news, they gritted their teeth and quickly rushed over. However, the first to arrive was not Zhao Tianxia, but a tall magical beast youth, Ouyang Feng. Ever since he lost to Lin Xian last time, he had always regarded it as the greatest humiliation of his life. Therefore, he had been cultivating hard these days and had absorbed the blood of many powerful demon kings to increase his strength again. Now, he could condense 3 immemorial golems. In his opinion, he could easily defeat Lin Xian. Therefore, this time, when he heard that Lin Xian had returned, he was the first to arrive. He wanted to defeat Lin Xian in front of everyone to prove himself. Lin Xian saw the tall magical beast youth opposite him and suddenly became happy. He did not expect that the first to come looking for him would be Ouyang Feng. "Loser, why are you looking for me?" Lin Xian asked. "Don't tell me you want me to join your organization?" "Humph. I lost to you last time, but this time, I will not lose to you again. I will kill you with my own hands," Ouyang Feng said coldly. "Is that so?" Lin Xian shrugged. "Then what are you waiting for? Hurry up and do it! You don't have to provoke me. There are rules in this forest now. We can fight, but we have to follow the rules. Ouyang Feng's lips curled into a cold smile. He wanted to defeat his opponent in front of everyone to prove himself. Not long after, Zhao Tianxia and Lu Mingwei arrived. At the same time, the pale-faced youth, Yan Qing, also arrived. Among them, Zhao Tianxia represented the Giant Valley, while Lu Ming formed his own Bright Moon organization. The pale youth, Yan Qing, had also established the Thorned Flower organization. With the three major organizations present at the same time, the battle could begin. Not only these three big organizations, but the other martial artists in the forest also rushed over when they heard the news. Whether it was Ouyang Feng or Lin Xian, they were both extremely powerful existences in their eyes. There was no way they would miss out on such a battle. The location of the battle was chosen to be far away from the powerful demon kings. They were afraid that their battle would affect the demon king. If the demon king went berserk, they would all suffer. After all, the most powerful people in this primeval forest weren't them, Holy Sun Alcade, or Leaf Daudenir. Instead, it was the terrifying demon king here. No matter how strong they were, they didn't dare to provoke those demon kings. Brat, today I will use your blood to wash away my shame! Ouyang Feng roared and his body shone brightly. The terrifying immemorial demonic elephant domain instantly shrouded the area. His aura continued to rise. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his tall body made him look like a human-shaped Tyrannosaurus. Boom! With a wave of his fist, three immemorial demonic elephants quickly appeared. They roared and rushed toward Lin Xian. What? 3 immemorial demonic elephants! Seeing this scene, the martial artists watching the battle felt their scalps go numb. They didn't expect Ouyang Feng to become stronger and be able to condense 3 immemorial demonic elephants. No wonder he dared to challenge Lin Xian again. His strength was probably much stronger than before. Lu Mingwei, Yan Qing, and the others looked at this scene with a slight smile. They knew how terrifying 3 immemorial demonic elephants were. Lin Xian probably couldn't contend with them. The current Ouyang Feng was no longer the Ouyang Feng from before. He was absolutely terrifying. Sun Yang also revealed a sneer. Seeing the 3 immemorial demonic elephants, Lin Xian was surprised. No wonder he dared to challenge him again. It turned out that his fist technique had improved. But so what? His opponent had improved, and so had he. Moreover, his improved strength was even more powerful. So with a cold snort, Lin Xian quickly waved the 5 elements fist. Boom! Earth element fist. He waved his fist, and a terrifying power covered the entire world as if to suppress the 3 immemorial demonic elephants in front of him. Boom! Boom! In the next moment, there was a fierce collision, and dust flew all over the sky. The earth cracked, but it turned into countless sharp earth spikes that shot towards the immemorial demonic elephants. At this moment, Lin Xian turned into the master of the earth. Terrifying energy swept in all directions, covering the entire forest. At this moment, the faces of the people watching the battle changed. This energy was simply too terrifying. Just the aftermath alone was enough to make them shudder with fear. However, Ouyang Feng was shocked. He didn't expect his opponent's strength to increase and be able to resist his attack. Impossible! How could this kid become so strong? He can even resist 3 immemorial demonic elephants. The others were also shocked. They found that Lin Xian's strength was beyond their expectations. Kill! Ouyang Feng roared, and the black wind rose. His whole body was like a demonic beast, opening and closing wide. Lin Xian waved the 5 elements fist, using the great dragon sword soul as the foundation. It was extremely terrifying. The two of them kept fighting, and the earth cracked. Terrifying scenes appeared one after another. At this moment, everyone around was stunned because the two of them were too powerful. The 3 immemorial demonic elephants were enough to suppress most of the people present, but they couldn't defeat Lin Xian. Lin Xian's 5 elements fist was ever-changing and terrifying. It could dissolve everything in the world. It was so much so that even the people from the Five Elements sect opened their eyes wide in disbelief. They didn't understand why the other party knew their sect's unique skill. Boom! After 50 moves, Ouyang Feng suddenly roared. The aura on his body skyrocketed again, and the 3 immemorial demonic elephants in front of him quickly merged. Their bodies kept growing, and they suppressed Lin Xian. In an instant, the earth cracked, unable to withstand this power. 5 elements fusion, true dragon attack. Lin Xian waved his fist, and the profound meaning of the 5 elements fused together, turning into a 5-colored divine dragon that rushed out. The huge dragon claw directly slapped the immemorial demonic elephant. Crack! The immemorial demonic elephant howled, turned into spiritual energy, and shattered on the ground. Ouyang Feng's body was also blasted away by this huge energy. Boom! 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 Ouyang Feng fell on the ground after retreating for 3,000 meters and breaking countless mountains and trees. Ah! Damn it! I don't believe it! Ouyang Feng roared at the sky. His black hair fluttered, and his entire person became extremely ferocious. Defeated again. He was actually blasted away by his opponent again, which was unbearable. Chapter 1751. Defeated again. He was sent flying again, which was unbearable for him. It should be noted that this time, he had condensed 3 immemorial demonic elephants. Compared to before, his strength had undergone an earth-shattering change. However, he still could not defeat his opponent. Damn it, I don't believe it! Ouyang Feng roared madly. However, in the next moment, his pupils shrank because his opponent was already in front of him. Apocalyptic Black Dragon Fist. At this moment, Lin Xian did not use the 5 elements fist. Instead, he used a more violent and destructive fist technique. He had already practiced the apocalyptic Black Dragon Fist to the great accomplishment realm. It was extremely terrifying. The terrifying fist was like a black dragon as it blasted forward. Damn it, block it for me! Ouyang Feng's pupils shrank. He did not expect his opponent to be so fast and catch up to him in an instant. In the next moment, he waved his arms and formed a tall Hell's Gate in front of him. Bang! In the next moment, the Black Dragon Fist hit the Hell's Gate, making a shocking collision sound. The Hell's Gate was extremely mysterious. No one knew what kind of technique it was, but it was not damaged. However, the terrifying power of the apocalyptic Black Dragon Fist passed through the Hell's Gate and hit Ouyang Feng's arms hard. Crack! Crack! Ouyang Feng's arms were broken and his body was sent flying again. What? Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. They did not expect Ouyang Feng to be defeated so miserably. Isn't this Lin Xian a little too strong? Everyone was shocked. After Lin Xian succeeded, he did not stop. Instead, his body was like lightning as he charged over once again. It was a good time to get rid of his opponent. He would not show mercy to such an enemy. In the next moment, he turned into a ray of sword light and rushed forward. Lin Xian moved like lightning and attacked Ouyang Feng again. What? Seeing this, everyone's scalp went numb. They did not expect Lin Xian to continue attacking. Was he not afraid of the revenge of the 3 major organizations? Stop! At this moment, another cold shout was heard. Then, 2 green vines turned into rays of light and rushed toward Lin Xian. That is? Yan Qing has made his move! Everyone cried out in alarm. There were immediately people who were dissatisfied, because they had already broken the rules. Indeed, Yan Qing had broken the rules. This was because, according to the new rules, the battle would only end when one side died. Or admit defeat. Before this, Ouyang Feng did not take the initiative to admit defeat, and he did not die, which meant that the battle was not over yet. No one else was allowed to interfere. However, at that moment Yan Qing attacked. This caused many people to feel discontent. The reason for that was because they felt that the other party was truly bullying them intolerably. Lin Xian also snorted coldly. sword chi gushed out from his body, transforming into a long river that fiercely crashed forward. Boom! The green vines were sliced into two. Lin Xian executed Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps, his speed reaching the extreme. In the next moment, he arrived in front of Ouyang Feng. With a wave of his hand, a sharp sword light slashed down rapidly. Puff! The sword slashed at Ouyang Feng's body and sent him flying. Immediately, blood splattered everywhere, and the surroundings fell silent. The surrounding people were all stunned. They did not expect Lin Xian to be so powerful, even though Yan Qing had intervened to stop him. Yan Qing's face turned gloomy. Lin Xian's speed was too fast, and he actually managed to dodge his attack. Killing someone in public was undoubtedly a slap to his face. Moreover, what made his face even gloomier was that Lin Xian had actually succeeded. The sword had landed on Ouyang Feng's body. Even if Ouyang Feng did not die, he would probably be crippled. After sending Ouyang Feng flying again, Lin Xian did not make a move. His body swayed and landed on the ground. He was extremely fierce, like the god of death. At that moment, everyone looked at Lin Xian and trembled. In fact, many people immediately invited Lin Xian again and offered great benefits. They wanted to invite Lin Xian to join their organization. If they could invite such a terrifying young genius, he would definitely be a powerful force. However, it was a pity that Lin Xian had no intention of joining the organization. Hence, he rejected them one by one. However, that did not affect Lin Xian's reputation. From then on, Lin Xian's reputation spread throughout the entire forest. On the other side, Zhao Tianxia, Lu Mingwei, Yan Qing, and the others looked extremely gloomy. They looked at Lin Xian with murderous intent in their eyes. That was because the power that Lin Xian had displayed was too shocking. It had only been a few days, but Lin Xian's power had increased so much. Needless to say, he must have obtained some treasure or opportunity in the forest. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to improve so quickly. They had to think of a way to get rid of such a great enemy as soon as possible. Otherwise, the threat to them would be too great. The shocking battle came to an end just like that. Both parties left, and the forest regained its peace. However, Ouyang Feng's corpse was still lying there, and no one cared about it. However, his storage ring had been taken away mercilessly. That was the cruel primitive forest. No one cared about a dead person. Even if Lu Mingwei, Yan Qing, and the others were once Ouyang Feng's companions, they did not care about the corpse now. However, after everyone left, the void suddenly split open. A silver-white hand reached out, grabbed Ouyang Feng's corpse, and disappeared. No one knew what had happened. Lin Xian did not know either. After he killed Ouyang Feng, he had left the area and set off towards the depths of the forest again. Lin Xian knew that the strength that he had displayed in killing Ouyang Feng had probably aroused the killing intent of some people. He did not know how many were in the dark, but on the surface, there were at least Zhao Tianxia, Lu Mingwei, Yan Qing, and the others. Every one of those people was incomparably powerful, not weaker than Ouyang Feng. Moreover, in this forest, there must be their own opportunities. No one knew how powerful they were now. Therefore, Lin Xian had to be careful. Although he would not join any organization, it did not mean that he would not form an alliance with others. Right now, he wanted to find someone to form an alliance with. Naturally, that person was Yi Wudao. Yi Wudao currently had a huge faction, so Lin Xian easily found out where he was. After passing through the dense forest, Lin Xian arrived at a quiet place. There were birds chirping and flowers fragrant. Spiritual qi was abundant, and there were no powerful demon kings around. It was indeed a good place to live. As expected of the Yi family. Even in this primitive forest, they were incomparably terrifying behemoths. Lin Xian now knew that Yi Wudao's identity was not ordinary. It was very likely that he was a disciple of the ancient Yi family. As soon as Lin Xian appeared, he felt that there were no less than 3 powerful soul powers around him that were staring at him. Chapter 1752. As soon as Lin Xian appeared, he felt that there were no less than 3 powerful soul powers in the surroundings that were staring at him. Furthermore, these soul forces were terrifyingly powerful. Needless to say, they belonged to almighty experts. Lin Xian's expression tensed up when he sensed the soul power of these almighties. "Senior, I'm here to look for Leaf Doudenier. I have no ill intentions." Hearing Lin Xian's words, 2 of the soul forces retreated. However, the last one didn't relax in the slightest. After a while, laughter rang out from the forest, and the last soul force retreated. Lin Xian knew that Leaf Doudenier knew he was coming, so he didn't hesitate and strode in. Sure enough, a handsome young man in white stood in front of him. It was none other than Leaf Doudenier. "Brother Dragon, you're here," Leaf Doudenier said with a smile. "You're famous now." Lin Xian shook his head. "Don't make fun of me, Brother Yi. Compared to you, my reputation is nothing." "You can't say that. Your reputation isn't weak at all." Indeed, Lin Xian's reputation was like the sun at high noon. His accomplishments were simply too many. Not to mention his previous exploits, just the fact that he killed Ouyang Feng was enough to cause a huge stir. Leaf Doudenier looked at Lin Xian and said, "Brother Dragon, would you like to join us?" "Join you?" Lin Xian was shocked. He hadn't expected Leaf Doudenier to make such an offer. This was something he hadn't expected. After all, the Yi clan was a clan of the ancients. After thinking for a long time, Lin Xian said, "Brother Yi, I appreciate your kindness, but I don't want to bring you any trouble." But Leaf Doudenier said, "Brother Dragon, you're overthinking things. We don't want you to join us because we want you. It's because you're strong enough to join us. Even here, you're still an elite." Leaf Doudenier was right. Lin Xian was strong enough to be taken seriously even in the Yi clan. However, Lin Xian still shook his head. "I didn't just offend Zhao Tianxie and Ouyang Feng. There are some even more terrifying existences. I don't want to cause trouble for your Yi clan." Lin Xian was right. He had not only offended people like Lu Mingwei and Zhao Tianxie. He had also offended people from the Wavering Light Holy Land, the All Beginnings Holy Land, and the 5 Elements sect. Especially now, he was wanted by the Wavering Light Holy Land. If his identity was exposed, he would probably attract the pursuit of most of the warriors. He even had the heavenly secret divine eyes. If this was exposed, no one would let him go. The Yi clan would most likely not be spared and would make a move against him. Therefore, Lin Xian would not join the Yi family. At the very least, he wouldn't stay with these almighties because their methods were too terrifying. Who knew when they would discover his secret? However, Lin Xian had come to form an alliance. Therefore, he said, "Although I can't join your Yi clan, we can form an alliance. We can help each other. When we are in trouble, we can help each other. How about it?" "All right." Leaf Doudenier smiled. Although he couldn't let Lin Xian join them, they could form an alliance. It wasn't a bad choice. Although the Yi clan was powerful, it wasn't that they didn't have enemies. In the past few days, they had suffered several inexplicable attacks. They could form an alliance. They would do their best to form an alliance. They naturally wouldn't miss out on a young genius like Lin Xian. Moreover, Leaf Doudenier also wanted to make friends with Lin Xian. After that, Lin Xian left and returned to a safe place. He flipped his hand and took out a 5-colored crystal. This 5-colored crystal was formed by the energy of the 5-colored divine stone. For convenience, Lin Xian had turned the energy of the 5-colored divine stone into small crystals so that he could absorb it when he was free. This was convenient, and could quickly provide him with energy. Over the next few days, Lin Xian searched for other sources of energy while absorbing these crystals. However, no one knew that in the depths of the primeval forest, in a dark swamp, a tall young man crawled out of the muddy swamp. He looked at his body in shock, feeling the abundant energy in his body. "Don't worry, your injuries are completely healed. Not only that, your cultivation has reached its peak." In front of the tall young man stood a blurry figure surrounded by black energy. It was impossible to see what was real or fake. "Thank you for saving my life!" The tall young man knelt on the ground and said, "Master, from now on, I will follow you and be loyal to you until death." "Very good." The mysterious figure smiled. "I know that your enemy is Lin Xian, and I know that you want to kill him very much. Don't worry, as long as you follow me, become my subordinate, and work for me. I will let you kill him with your own hands." "Really?" The tall young man was shocked and suddenly raised his head. If anyone was here and saw this face, they would definitely scream. Because this tall young man was none other than the dead Ouyang Feng. However, for some reason, he was now alive. The mysterious figure in front of him laughed. Of course, it was true. Then, he waved his hand and a silver-white palm pressed on Ouyang Feng's forehead. Buzz! Suddenly, a silver mark appeared on Ouyang Feng's forehead. It was the size of a coin and was engraved with strange runes. The silver mark flickered and soon disappeared. "I have planted a special energy in your body. You can try it now." Hearing this, Ouyang Feng no longer hesitated. He stood up from the ground and then activated the energy in his body to trigger the silver mark between his eyebrows. Buzz! The silver mark appeared and shone brightly. Not only that, mysterious runes appeared on it and crawled all over Ouyang Feng's body. A terrifying and powerful energy was emitted from the silver mark. So powerful! Ouyang Feng was shocked. Then, he waved his fists and 4 immemorial demonic elephants circled around him. Seeing this, Ouyang Feng sucked in a breath of cold air. Just a few days ago, he could only use 3 immemorial demonic elephants. However, now that he had come back from the dead, he could use 4 immemorial demonic elephants. This meant that his strength had improved tremendously. "Thank you, Master!" Ouyang Feng knew that everything he had now, including his life, was given to him by the mysterious man in front of him. Therefore, he swore to be loyal to him forever. The mysterious man nodded and then said, "Get up. I will give you some more men. Together you can capture that kid." The mysterious man waved his hand and suddenly, 5 more figures appeared around him. If Lin Xian were here and saw this scene, he would definitely turn pale with fright. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.